Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Indrani Malkani on behalf of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industries and the We Citizens Action Network. Welcome you heartily this morning to a session which is going to be very interesting. First of all, may I apologize to my online audience for being a little late in the start, but you know, on a weekday, 10 o'clock, it does happen. Mumbai city is unpredictable at times, so do excuse. Property Day in mind, we are specially celebrating the can-do attitude of women, inventors, creators, and entrepreneurs, and their groundbreaking work all around. This is something which is going to throw up very interesting nuggets as we proceed. A little bit about VCAN. VCAN is a non-political, not-for-profit registered public trust, and all donations are exempt under the income tax, Section 80G of the Income Tax Act. We are a citizens' engagement forum for the welfare and well-being of the citizens. And our objective, primary objective, is to establish effective linkages between the citizens and the government. So we work in partnership with several government authorities and public authorities. We are happy to share that VCAN has been onboarded on the Startup 20 Engagement Group, which has been initiated under G20 India Presidency of 2023, and which, I quote, aspires to create a global narrative for supporting startups and enabling synergies between startups, corporates, investors, innovation agencies, and other key ecosystems, stakeholders, unquote. We are very fortunate to be onboarded. Our chamber partner, the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, indeed, many of you will know it is the oldest chamber in our country, and has always recognized the fact that in the new environment of society, industry, and business, the need for corporates to internalize and demonstrate their responsibilities to the society which they operate is no longer a matter of debate. And we are delighted to have the Bengal Chamber as our chamber partner. Today, the Bengal Chamber and VCAN have come together on a subject of interest to all of us, the India IPR Conclave, From Rights to Value, focusing on intellectual property rights in India. To raise awareness and understanding among various sections of society as to the importance and value of intellectual property rights, geographic indications, and how to protect our own intellectual properties. We talk about protecting our various other assets, but we often forget that intellectual properties are left open. So let's learn to protect it. It is intended that on the conclusion of the panel discussion, which will follow the keynote address, the appropriate recommendations will be taken on record for the task ahead. At this point, may I please invite, I would also share the format of the program as we proceed. The public interaction will follow the panel discussion. And when we start that, I will explain the format at that point. May I now invite Mr. Deb Mukherjee, the past president of Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also the trustee of We Citizens Action Network, to deliver the welcome address. Deb?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Namaskar. A very warm welcome to all of you to the IPR Conclave, jointly being presented by the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry and We Citizens Action Network. It's quite befitting that the proceedings for today's deliberations have been initiated by Srimati Malkani. In keeping with the spirit of the IP theme of the year, which is Women and IP, accelerating innovation and creativity, and very importantly, celebrating, as Srimati Malkani pointed out, the can-do attitude of women creators, inventors, entrepreneurs, and all their groundbreaking work. It gives me immense pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, and indeed we are delighted to have Shri Sanjeev Sanyal with us. And I have heard Sanjeev several times, a visionary leader, an erudite speaker, and most importantly, he combines inputs, insights from history, economics, multidisciplinary approach, and gives fresh perspectives in charting a vision, which is most important. A vision which, to realize, needs a plan. And that's why it's also a sheer delight, though of course he hasn't yet joined us, but would shortly be joining us, Dr. Unnat Pandit, the Controller General of Patents, Trademarks, Designs and Trademark, Copyright and Trademark in India, who would be the person to implement the vision and set the action in motion. And also importantly, another gentleman who is doing some seminal work in the area of geographical indications, which is very much a part of IP, of intellectual property, Dr. Rajnikant, and I take great pleasure in welcoming him today. We are indeed honored to have a set of very distinguished panelists. And may I individually welcome Srimati Ashwini Bhide. She is, I hear her name every second day from Srimati Malkani in Mumbai, because she is doing great work for the city. I also welcome Dr. Devendra Narayan Singh, Chair Professor from IIT Bombay, who is partnering VCAN and the Chamber today. Dr. Mridula Bele, a patent attorney and Professor of Pharmaceutical Sciences. She's a patent consultant. I take it you are also a patent attorney? Oh, yeah, okay. And indeed, pharmaceuticals and chemicals play a very important part in the IP ecosystem. Dr. Prashant Mali, of course, an eminent lawyer. And Mr. Ajit Kumar Jain, a good old friend who is going to moderate the panel discussion, sir. My fellow trustees, Mr. Ranganathan and the others, and Mr. Shri Munish Sudan from Tata Steel, who have been very supportive for us today for this event. Ladies and gentlemen, to my mind, and I think you would agree with me, IP as a value proposition needs to be seen in an expansive and not in a restrictive sense, because it embraces the spirit of creative empowerment. And this is important. Creative empowerment which finds expression and acceptance through an IP regulatory framework and through channels, whether it is through innovators in R&D in organizations, whether it is through the startup community, or for that matter, traditional skills and knowledge, crafts and activities ground up at the community level, which is now being protected by GI. The acceptance and recognition. Whilst tradable value comes out of this acceptance and recognition, we need to be also mindful of the other aspects that IP brings into the forefold, and that would be inclusivity, diversity, shared benefits for all of us. And that leads up to the vision of G20, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. So it all joins up together, and this vision needs to be understood, and an action plan on the ground to be put in place, and it should work on the ground. That's important. We have a long way to go. The panel will address various issues, but at least we have made a good start, I think, in the current context, and we really look forward to a very interesting, stimulating discussion, deliberations today, and welcome again, a very warm welcome to all of you. Namaskar.
May I now request Mr. Ranganathan, my fellow trustee, to please introduce our keynote speaker, Shri Sanyal, and followed by Dr. Rajinikanth and the panelists, and then we would invite our keynote address.
Good morning. Bengal Chamber and VCAN are indeed fortunate to have an extraordinary person to deliver the keynote address and to have a panel of eminent persons for discussions. Now, Dr. Sanjeev Sanyal, he is currently a member of the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister. Prior to this, he was the Principal Economic Advisor to the Union Finance Minister from 2017 to 2022. He is also the co-chair of G20 Framework Working Group. An alumnus of Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi, Dr. Sanyal attended Oxford University, and as a Rhodes Scholar, he was awarded the Eisenhower Fellowship in 2007 for his work in urban dynamics. Prior to joining the government, he spent over 2 decades working in financial markets and was the global strategist and managing director of Deutsche Bank. He has published over 200 articles and columns, and he has also published a number of best-selling books. To my right is Dr. Rajinikanth, who will be delivering a special address. Dr. Rajinikanth is a person who is after doing PhD in agriculture, he has devoted himself to social service. There's an organization which has been founded by him from 1993 onwards, Human Welfare Association. This is a grassroots NGO working in Eastern UP for the cause of sustainable development of marginal community, namely children, youth, women, and handicraft artisans. And his work has benefited about 5,700 through livelihood activities, then about 4,350 girls through vocational training, and 10,000 weavers and artisans. Dr. Rajinikanth has played a vital role in promotion of traditional crafts through GA registration and working under IPR, and in fact, he has promoted about 170 GA registrations and 3 patents. For his social work, he has received numerous awards, including Padma Shri in the year 2019. So it's really a pleasure to have Dr. Rajinikanth with us. Now, Mr. A.K. Jain, who is the moderator of the panel discussion, he has done masters in chemistry and political science and also did a master's in development administration from the School of Public Policy and University of Birmingham, UK. After joining the IAS in 1982, he has held many important assignments, including including Principal Secretary, Water Supply and Sanitation, Government of Maharashtra, Additional Municipal Commissioner, Mumbai Municipal Corporation, then Principal Secretary to the CM. After retirement, he was a State Information Commissioner from 2014 to 18 and was also associated with the All India Institute of Local Self-Government. And presently, he is associated with Environmental Research Foundation as a senior consultant. So we look forward to Mr. A.K. Jain moderating the discussion. Now we are fortunate to have with us Dr. Unnat Pandit. He is a professor of intellectual property, innovation, entrepreneurship at Jawaharlal Nehru University and is currently serving as Controller General of Patents, Designs and Trademarks, Government of India. He has been earlier Program Director, Atal Innovation Mission in Niti Aayog and was also a member of the team constituted to draft the new IPR policy. We are eagerly looking forward to inputs from him. Now, Mrs. Ashwini Bhide, she requires no introduction. She is a well-known personality in Mumbai. After joining the IAS in 1995, she has held many vital assignments, including Additional Metropolitan Commissioner, Mumbai Metropolitan Regional Development Authority, MMRDA, Secretary School Education and Sports, and Managing Director of Mumbai Metro Rail Corporation. And she has held many mega urban infrastructure projects in Mumbai, including the Coastal Road Project, the Eastern Freeway, elevated road to the International Airport, and Mumbai Monorail. At present, she is Additional Municipal Commissioner in the Mumbai Municipal Corporation and also Managing Director of Mumbai Metro Rail Corporation. We look forward to her presentation on the work done in IP, particularly in the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai. Professor Dr. Devendra Narayan is an alumnus of IIT Kanpur and has been a faculty member of IIT Bombay since 1994. He has published a huge volume of 335 technical articles, supervised 41 doctoral students, and filed 35 patents, and 2 copyright applications. He has established a state-of-the-art environmental geotechnology lab in the department and as the recipient of many awards and fellowships of prestigious institutions. So as a person who has patented, got 35 patents, I think his contribution will be of great, immense value. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Mridula Bele. Dr. Mridula Bele is a uniquely qualified person. Apart from PhD in pharmaceutical sciences, she possesses a postgraduate diploma in patent law from Nalsar, LLB from Pune University, and LLM from University of Turin. And Italy. Dr. Mridula Bele has a strong interest in intellectual property rights and regulatory affairs for pharmaceuticals. And currently, she is in the faculty of NDVMP's College of Pharmacy. And she has also published 3 books. So I think her contribution will be of great value. Now, Advocate Dr. Prashant Mali is not new to WeCan. He had spoken in the social Sanchar program of WeCan on cyber crimes, which attracted a lot of interest. He is a renowned international cyber and privacy lawyer. He is a master's in computer science and master in law with PhD in cyber warfare and international cyber law. He is the author of 6 books and 16 research papers and has a passion for, he trains police, judges, bureaucrats, corporate decision makers and academicians, and has contributed a lot to the policy formulation in IT laws. So I think with this distinguished panel, we really look forward to very fruitful and enlightening discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ranganathan. We now start with our keynote speaker, Shri Sanjeev Sanyal. May I invite you, Mr. Sanyal, to please now deliver the keynote address. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me begin by thanking Bengal Chamber and WeCan for inviting me here to speak to all of you and for organizing this wonderful event. Let me also say a very good morning to Srimati Indrani Malkani, Shri Deb Mukherjee, Shri Ranganathan, to my partner in many crimes, Dr. Unnat Pandit, to Srimati Ashwini Bhide and Dr. Rajnikant and all the others on the stage. Also good to see some old friends of mine in the audience. There's Vivek, there's Roli. So thank you for making time this morning. Now, the topic is more generally today about India's IPR. But for the purposes of my talk, I'm going to stick to one part of it, which is patents. So I recognize that there are other kinds of IPR, trademarks and other things, geotagging, etc. And I'm sure there'll be a wider discussion on it later. But I'm going to talk about specifically patenting, but many of these issues in different ways are true of other parts. But patenting is, I think, a good place to start. It's a well-defined problem, and I have been writing about it for some time. Last year, in fact, I published a paper on this, which got quite some traction both in the media as well as inside the government, and has led to some amount of reforms which are gathering pace. As I said, Unnat and I are partners in crime on trying to get some of this done. So why don't we go to the presentation, if that can be shown. So the presentation says, upgrading India's patenting capacity. So let me show you what the issue is. So I know they are somewhat small print, but nevertheless, here is the issue. So the application process of patents, let me give you a sense of how big this was till recently. So this is about patent applications received by the Patent Office. And as recently as 2016-17, the total amount of patents that we used to receive, the applications, this is not grants, this is applications, was a little over 45,000. And even within that, about the bulk of it, about 70% odd of it, used to be non-Indian, in the sense that much of it was essentially multinational companies who were regularizing their patenting in India. So this is not really new ideas that are getting patented. This is just some stuff that has been done in the rest of the world, and it's turned up here. Now, since 2016-17, which is not so long ago, we have put in a fair amount of effort in trying to expand the amount of patenting that happens here. Obviously, patents is a key part of the innovation ecosystem, and unfortunately, a lot of great Indian innovators were being forced to go abroad to patent their, to put in their patents because of how slow our system was. To give you some sense, it would very often take between 5 and 9 years sometimes to get a patent. Now, you can imagine you're dealing with technologies which are moving fast. If you're going to take something, you're going to take 5 to 9 years. That technologies very often become irrelevant by the time you get your patents. And of course, there's always the risk that somebody else in the world has already made some tweaks and patented it and gotten on with it. Whereas in the rest of the world, it takes 2-3 years to patent. So this is a serious issue. So a fair effort was made to try and improve that, as a result of which the applications in patents have gone up significantly. And as you can see, in the last 1 year, it has jumped up. So in the last year, financial year, that's 22-23, the number of patent applications went up to 82,000. So a very dramatic increase in the amount of applications that comes in. But equally important, I would argue, is that more than half of this came from Indian sources, i.e. these were presumably genuine domestic innovations that are finding their way into the application process. Now, as a result of this, there was a speeding up of the giving out of grants. So not only were the applications going up, there was grants. So look, if you look at the very last part of this table, you'll see the amount of grants in India. India, as recently as 2016, used to only grant 9,847 patents a year. So a country our size doing not even 10,000 patents a year. And this began to rise from 2016 onwards when we began to focus on this area. And you can see it has been accelerating quite sharply. And the latest year, and we have this by calendar year, in 2022, 34,000 patents were granted by the Indian system. Now, so that's a dramatic improvement. It's more than, it's gone up 3.5 times. So this is great. However, do note how much patenting is done in the rest of the world. China, for example, sees almost 16 lakh applications, and it grants almost 7 lakh patents a year. The US gets almost 6 lakh applications and grants about 3.3 lakh patents a year. So obviously they are on a totally different scale. Now, I will add the caveat that the China number is somewhat inflated by the fact that they have something called utility patents, which are lower quality patents. So in some ways, one can say both the filing and the grants are a bit overinflated. Nevertheless, the reason I put it in there is so that you get a sense of the sheer scale. So yes, we have gone from 9.8 thousand to 34,000 since 2016, great achievement. But you can see our peers are on a totally different scale from where we want to be. Okay. So a fair effort is now being put to try and solve this issue. So you have here the process itself. So one of the reasons, by the way, I am gotten involved in this whole effort is not just about IPR, but a wider area of reform that we in the government, and particularly the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, we are focusing on, which is that of process reforms. You see, everybody loves structural reforms, big reforms like GST, insolvency and bankruptcy code, but a large part of reform is actually the nuts and bolts reform of process. So IPR reform is not a structural reform in that sense. Everybody agrees the broad framework is there. The real problem is getting the process to work. And just to give you a flavor of what the process bottlenecks are, first of all, remember that at the risk of simplifying, there are 2 stages in a patent application. One is the examiner level, which is the first stage. And then there is a next level, which is called the controller level. When you pass that, that's where you get the papers are stamped and you get your patent. So let's look at the chart on the left. And you can see that there was a massive pendency in 2016, 17, 18 in the examiner level, i.e. you put in your application, it just gets stuck in the first step. And it just gets stuck there and stuck there and stuck there. And it doesn't even progress to the next level. And many small issues come up at this level. Many of them are purely procedural. You didn't pay the exact amount that is meant for this particular category of patent and things like that, or you didn't file it under the exact segment or something very trivial, procedural, why it would get stuck. So this bit has got smoothened over time, and you can see the pendency has come down very dramatically. There used to be a pendency in 17-18 of about 1.7 lakh patents in pendency. That has dramatically fallen in the latest year to just 17,200. Okay? So this is a dramatic reduction, and I have to say, Unnat here has played a big role in getting this sorted, and his predecessor as well would have worked hard. So you can see this big decline. In fact, as a result of which, as of now, at the examiner level, we are one of the fastest in the world. We went from being one of the slowest to being one of the fastest in the course of the last 5 years. So great job done. However, we have a problem because we have not had the similar kind of improvement in efficiency at the controller level. So you can clearly see what happens is that the pendency has simply got flicked over onto the controller level. And there, the pendency has dramatically gone up. So you can see the piling up of pendency, the red column, and you can see just almost a mirror of the decline at the examiner level. You see the controller level going up, and by 21-22 that had gone up to 1,80,000 in pendency. Now, in the last 1 year, big effort from Unnat and his team, that has begun to finally turn. But it's just turned, it's still very, very high. But I'm just giving you a sense of what happens if you fix one part but not the whole chain. As Mr. Ranganathan would say, don't close the loop. Okay, so what is the problem? Well, there are many problems in the process, but one major problem which I identified in the paper we published last year is that we just don't have enough people in this. So if you take in 2020, where the last year in which we have the full data for, you will see, China has 13,000 people in the patent office. US has 8,122 people, 32 people in the patent office, and we are at 858. This is the equivalent of going out to play a football or cricket match when the other team has 18 players and you don't have even one full player. There's no way in which you can compete. So, among the many other things, cleaning up the processes and various other things, a very big important thing was actually improve the number of people that are in the patent office. Now, I am, as many of you who know me well will know, I am extremely suspicious about expanding the government. So I take the business of actually increasing numbers in any government department very seriously and very suspiciously. But let me say, in this particular case, I am in favor of it, of a dramatic increase, because among other things, the patent office is actually a revenue positive office. It actually generates a multiple of the revenue of what is spent on it. So, purely as a commercial activity, never mind its second order benefits to IPR, etc. Even if the government was only thinking about this from a fiscal perspective, it makes sense for the government to increase numbers in this one office. Now, the good news is that this is getting done in some ways. Still, so you can see the number of, I told you, in 21-22, what was the position? The controllers there were 263 controllers and there were 683 examiners. Now, let me point out that this is after a dramatic increase in numbers, so that you get a sense of how things were. Please go back and see, in 2014, the total of the green bar to the extreme left. In 2014, the entire patent office had only 272 people. So, the number I just showed you is after a dramatic increase to 858, and we were here. At 21-22, you can see we had controllers 263 and examiners 673. Now this number is now being dramatically increased. We have got the go-ahead by the government, including expenditure and other parts of the sanctioning system. And now we are planning to look at by 2025-26 to have 963 controllers and 998 examiners. In addition to which, we will have contractual technical assistants. There's already, I think, an additional 40 or odd young professionals and others who have been brought in for developing the wider ecosystem, not just the process part. So there is finally some serious manpower being put into this. The number for 22-23 controllers is being put here has gone up to 663, which I think is not quite the case. Did it go up to that number? It did. So okay. So the number of controllers did jump up by the end of 22-23 to 663. Although it had happened only recently, so those numbers will not, this year show up. It didn't show up so much last year, right? If I'm right.
302 got promotion just 4 days back.
302 examiners got promoted to controllers just 3 days back. Although that would fall into the 23-24 khata, no? But anyway, the point I'm making is there has been a dramatic expansion of capacity in this, and this is a great thing here. Now, other than just adding people, there are a large number of other things that are also being done. So, for example, the centralized classification team has been constituted to classify and allot the patent applications to the examiner for timely application dispersal. Similarly, a flexible time has been given for clarifications. Earlier on, there was a standard 4 weeks, and even trivial clarifications would take 4 weeks. Now it has been brought down to 10 to 30 days. Adjournment requests, for example, have to be accompanied with a reasonable cause by the applicants. Earlier on, no cause was needed. So this again, as with the courts, randomly there were just unnecessary delays would be put in place. Requests for early publication of applications to be accompanied by power of attorney, so that again avoids delays. Then secure VPNs have been, connections have been given to IP officers. They can work from home and remote locations. So these are kind of, again, small process changes. Each one of them may not mean very much, but they add up to making it much smoother. And same thing is, by the way, being done in other parts of IPR. I'm not so conversant with what's happening in geotagging, but certainly in trademarks I know that grievance redressal of very long pending applications was a major problem. And that has been sped up, and as a result, just in the last 1 year, 1.5 lakh long pending applications and oppositions were disposed of. Again, the system is being cleaned up, and there is no doubt about the fact that a lot of attention is going to cleaning up this system. Next. So, what needs to be done going forward? Well, first of all, obviously, fast track the hiring process. We are really pushing this at this. Promotions, hiring, all of this is going on. This is, of course, for posts that have been created, also for things that are being outsourced, and as I said, also effort in the wider ecosystem through getting in consultants, professors, YPs, etc., who are not just in the process, but think more widely about the IP ecosystem. Then also, we are looking at legislative changes. An important thing that needs to be done is fixing timelines. You see, otherwise things drag on forever, and there are timelines needed for all kinds of things. But an important one that I want to highlight here is something called pre-grant opposition. Now, if somebody puts in an application, states that this is a great innovation, it's fair that people in the field who may have already who want to oppose this grant, have a ability to oppose the grant. However, we allow this to happen at any time in the process. So what happens is, very often, your commercial rivals may go a day before the grant and put the opposition. So you've gone through the whole process, it's taken many years, and on the very last day goes and puts the opposition. And then the whole process restarts, and you can do it any number of times. So net result of this is that one of the very important reasons for these long delays was this kind of thing. And very often the same questions are being asked where different people are just going in there. So you'll put this thing, the whole process will start. After this, when you get to the finishing line, one day before that, again somebody will do it. And so there's no end to it. So this is not a unique problem to India, obviously. Other countries have solved it by essentially having a fixed timeline. So I think the US, if I'm not mistaken, gives a 6-month period in which this pre-grant opposition can be done. So it's opened up, it's put on the website. If you want to oppose it, after that, keep your peace. So something in these lines will have to be done in India as well. There will be a period in which you can oppose. After that, tough. And of course, there are all kinds of cumbersome compliance requirements, which is a great love of our bureaucratic processes. We need to solve that. Oops, it died. Okay, I think that's pretty much the end of the presentation. But what I want to say before I end is that this is one example of how we have gone into one issue, looked through the process, and tried to fix it. We have committed people like Unnat who are out there, going out there, whatever needs to be fixed, bell, nuts, bolts, fixing here and there, tighten something, loosen something. But these are important things. As I said, process reform is critical. And one good way of thinking about this is to think of that you have to climb a mountain. When you're climbing a mountain, it's of course you're thinking about the pinnacle of the mountain, but if there is a pebble in your shoe, let me tell you, most of the time you'll be thinking about the pebble in your shoe. So fixing the processes is about removing that pebble in the shoe. And there are large numbers of this. I have been in the last couple of years spending a lot of time fixing these little pebbles. I'm happy to come back. I believe you have an interest in another pebble that I'm trying to fix, something called legal metrology, which is about weights, measures, and labeling. Another pebble in the shoe which I'm trying to fix, but there are many others which I am also working on, and I write about them in the newspapers. You can read my articles, you can Google them up. But the point I'm making here before I end is the reform process is all about continuously taking feedback and fixing these things. And these are not any great ideological battles. This is not about making some grand shift. Most of what needs to be done is this continuous feedback loop based fixing. And our government remains committed to keep doing this. This is how the whole machine begins to step by step feel its way forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanyal, for what we liked about is the pebble part. Indeed, that's so true of so many issues that we come across as citizens. And I am indeed looking forward to working with you on the legal metrology. It's something that we as an organization also have worked on and very much a focus area. Anyway, coming back, we will now start with the panel. But the mix of the panel is very interesting. We have across the panelists representing various sectors. And I think somewhere we have missed out that the corporates play in this whole scenario. So we have with us Mr. Munish Sudan, and he's very quietly sitting in the corner. But I can assure you the corporates hold the string in more ways than one. I'm sure many will agree. So a little bit about Mr. Sudan. He heads the IP and Technology Intelligence function of Tata Steel and is also responsible for managing IP ownership, licensing, confidentiality, funding, and other contractual aspects of research and technology collaborations. Mr. Sudan is a member of the Innovation Council and works with researchers to assess and convert ideas into new products and technologies. He has led Tata Steel to win many coveted and prestigious awards, including Thomson Reuters Innovation Award, the Confederation of Indian Industry National Intellectual Property Award, and the Tata Innovista Awards. Before joining Tata Steel, Mr. Sudan worked in the capacity of Group Manager of EvalueServe and headed a multilingual team of more than 60 team members providing IP asset management and technology research and strategy solutions to Fortune 100 companies in the energy and chemical domains. He has managed many innovation programs to identify potential partners, subsequently develop strategic alliances in the domain of personal care, photovoltaics, excuse my pronunciation please, and lithium-ion batteries. Here goes. During his professional career, spanning more than a decade and a half, he has counseled on issues surrounding mergers and acquisitions, valuation of technologies, joint venture structuring, licensing, and assessment of technology breakthroughs. He speaks frequently at various national and international conferences and teaches courses related to IP and innovation management at leading research institute and business schools. His specialization area include technology scouting, technology intelligence, open innovation, patent drafting, IP licensing, and developing strategic alliances. Most importantly, Mr. Sudan is licensed to practice before Indian Patent Office and holds a postgraduate diploma in IP law from the National Academy of Legal Studies and Research. He is also a certified licensing professional and a graduate in business management from XLRI Jamshedpur, specializes in strategy and marketing. Before beginning his professional career, Mr. Sudan completed a master's in chemistry at IIT Roorkee. He has been identified as the leading IP strategist in the world by IPBC. Now that's impressive. And I must tell you, Mr. Sudan, formerly I was also with the Tatas, and not the Tatas, I should say, in that sense of company, but I was on the hospitality side. So it is absolutely a delight to introduce another fellow Tata person. Mr. Sudan, thank you for being with us. There are a few very special people that I would like to acknowledge who are here with us. We have with us the Honorary Consul General of Georgia, representing, if I may, Mr. Ahuja, if you may stand. And we will be coming back to you during the public interaction to have your views. Another very special person whom I would like to acknowledge and introduce is Mr. Kranti Sagar More. Mr. More, where are you? I need to have you around, yes. So let me share a little bit about Mr. More. I am indeed very grateful to him for being with us in more ways than one, and I look forward to a long partnership with you. Mr. More is the national convener of Shavishkar India. Mr. Kranti Sagar is a PhD scholar at the Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai, and Alliance Task Force of Working Group of Startup 20. Shavishkar, a little bit about Shavishkar. It is a platform that nurtures startups and innovators across the country, especially empowering rural and social entrepreneurs. Shavishkar has been an outreach partner in this event and helped us create awareness about intellectual property rights. VCAN as an organization will look to working with you, Mr. More, very closely on this path. And what is most delightful is that we have with us also a contingent from our Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation who are here, and that would be the innovation cell. Is that correct? Incubation cell, Mrs. Bide? Yes, and that I am particularly happy about. Thank you for being with us. So Mr. Jain is now being handed over to you to please take the panel forward and having a good discussion. Thank you, Mr. Jain.
Thank you very much. The office bearers of WeCan, the BCCI, distinguished speakers, eminent persons on the dais, and friends. It's indeed a privilege to be present here for such an important deliberation, and that to moderate the session on such an important session on IPR. where we all know that the Honorable Prime Minister has in the year, as they call, in the year of Amrit Kal, have taken an initiative of developing a vision for the country, Vision 2047. That means after 100 years of independence, where should India be? And one of the major mandates or major, we can say, elements of that vision will be that we have a quantum jump in the economic growth. We have huge job creation opportunities. Our performance in the HDI significantly improves. Now, if that has to be done, naturally the role of technology in all sectors of economy will be very crucial. And wherever technology is ultimately, its implementation, it is bringing to the field is important. And that is where the patenting or other forms of IPR and the implementation of the IPR regime comes into play. The way I look at it, IPR has two components. One is the protection of the intellectual properties, or let's say very, very broadly, the creatives or inventions, innovations. That's one part, and that is kind of ensured by the set of laws that we have in the country. And the other part is its commercialization, which is equally important. And I think in today's deliberation, both the aspects will be perhaps covered. Well, in terms of the overall legal framework that we have in our country, we have Copyright Act 1957, the Patent Act, the Trademarks Act, the GI Goods Act, the Design Act, the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Interest Act. That's very important. Why? Because you are also talking about the farmer's interest, the consumer's interest, and that is one element which is often missed out when one talks of IPR. Then the Semiconductor IC Design Act, etc. Now, the issue is that with such a strong legal framework, what are the issues or what are the problems in making the IPR administration or regime more effective? Mr. Sanyal just pointed out, as regard the patenting is concerned, there were some issues, there are staffing issues. That's one part. But I would like to take you to the national IPR policy of 2016, which has listed some of the issues that come in the way of effective implementation of IPR in the country. Sorry about that. Now, one of the points, in fact, the very first point mentioned in the policy is the lack of awareness. And that is where the program of today assumes great significance. And it talks about various means through which the awareness about the IPR should be improved. Now, whose awareness? The patenters or the researchers? At the same time, of the public in general. Because we as a consumer ought to know that we should buy genuine product and should not be allured by some, fly-by-night kind of people and who sell the spurious or duplicate kind of stuff. So awareness is one part. The awareness will be very important also about the processes that Mr. Sanyal just talked about. Because the prospective patenters, I hope I'm using the right word, I mean the applicants, okay, say, the applicants for filing or registering the patent should know the procedure. He just talked about that abroad 2 to 3 years are required to complete the process from application to grant. But over here probably the period is much longer. That will be improved gradually. But even to a layman like me, even 2-3 years is a long period. And for the person who is really looking into kind of getting some quick gains from his research, we must make them understand about it. So awareness creation is one. The second type of issues which the policy mentions is about the administrative or management issue, which I think Mr. Sanyal has pointed out very, very clearly. There are some issues, and the patent office has to be strengthened. Without that, nothing can really go forward. In the same way, when one talks about the copyright and other laws, perhaps similar strengthening will be required there as well. Now, the third issue is about the enforcement. Obviously, I mean, though he talked about the opposition to the patent applications, but even after that, there could be legal issues. And I don't know whether there are a special forum or special adjudicating mechanism in the country at the moment which can ensure quick resolution of disputes. I understand there was a tribunal, but that was probably scrapped a few years back. Now, if that is the case, then to expect the normal courts to adjudicate in these matters, I think may be a little impractical. They are overburdened with all kinds of cases. So I don't know whether the government of India is thinking about something like consumer forum, etc. The commercialization is another issue. So these are some of the issues which I thought I should share here. Many of the issues will come up as we have the presentation by the panelists and during the public interaction. Now, my request to all the panelists is that this is a very interactive kind of a session. So kindly restrict your presentation or your points or key points to about 6 to 7 minutes or 6 minutes at max. And then at the end of which we will have the Q&A and public interaction, so that I think everybody will be benefited by the overall interactions. So with this initial remarks, I will now invite Professor Unat Pandit. I mean, he has already been introduced. He's the Controller General of Patent, Designs and Trademarks, to speak on government initiatives to simplify IPR processes. Mr. Pandit, please.
Thank you, Ajit Kumar ji. Honorable Sanjeev Sanyal ji, Ranganathan ji, Indrani ji, Rajnikant ji, my fellow panelists, and the august gathering, the intellectual warriors of the country, all of us. See, the changes which were required, Sanjeev Sanyal ji has rightly set the entire tone for all of us to brainstorm on why we need this kind of a IP regime focusing on the developmental path. And Ajit Kumar ji has also mentioned, and Indrani ji has also told about, we need to have a focused developmental path. And in Amrit Kal, the far-sighted vision which Honorable PM has seen, that we need to be a developed country. And for being a developed country, right from 2014 when he occupied the chair of a Pradhan Sevak, he has started working. We have seen the numbers. 2016-70, the kind of a patent grant which was there, and 2022-23, 3x jump is clear cut. More than 3x jump is there. In terms of manpower also, we have seen the jump and entire policy which has been framed. So Sanjeev Sanyal ji is a vidur of IP innovation in this country. He is mentoring the entire IP office and the regime how we should have a far-sighted vision. We are facing a challenges, and if challenges are there, we have to work for that. We are employed for this. So nothing great on the kind of a transformation which we are trying to bring. The entire efforts are towards strengthening the IP regime. We all have seen the infrastructural transformation which is happening. That's kind of a developmental highway we can see, and clear cut this visibility in this 9 years we are seeing. And for Amrit Kal, this is an intellectual transformation. IP assets are how this can be monetized. And first of all, this monetization needs the strong IP regime, IP protection, the number of patents, trademarks, copyrights, or designs which are getting granted. They should generate the value for the country. Each rupee which is getting investment, we are trying to monetize in the physical asset. But what about intellectual asset? This is something which Honorable PM has also realized, and that's why he has started in 2015 the Startup India movement. The youngster which in the country has the ability to transform this IP regime. And this far-sighted vision on 12th January 2015, he has visioned, and then the startup domain has catch the attention. And now we are the 3rd third largest startup ecosystem in the world. We have a highest unicorn, and all these unicorns are generating the intellectual property. And this intellectual property is going to further amplify the economic benefit for the country. And this is something is the crawling on the IP-driven technology and knowledge-embedded economy. This is the future for Amrit Kal. And for that, we need to strengthen the IP regime now. When the infrastructural development which has happened, the national highways which were built, and Gadkari ji has done this work in the first regime and the second regime as well. On intellectual front, we are also trying to strengthen the IP regime, and this manpower increase or streamlining the processes, all these are a strategic intervention which is happening periodically. And these interventions are soon going to see the results. You will see the results in terms of a IP which is meant for the society. And when I say that IP for development, actually it is for addressing the societal challenges. And if we see the Smart India hackathons which is happening, 10 lakh students are participating, and they are given a few challenging problem statements, and in 3 days, 4 days, they are trying to ideate the solution, put those ideas on paper and try to build the prototypes. So this is something which is driving them or ideating them towards creating the solutions. And these solutions will ultimately lead towards the societal problem solving. See, IP-driven solution design is the future which is going to be in the country. And as soon as we are going to design this entire solution-driven approach, this is going to build the knowledge economy for the country. And this knowledge economy will certainly help us achieving the developed country status. This is the vision which is the roadmap for the Amrit Kal, which Honorable PM has tried to envisage. And in order to realize this, Honorable Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal ji is timely putting all this intervention. So earlier we used to have a IP facilitator, 465 IP facilitator were there in the country, and it's his coin term, so I am giving entire credit to Honorable CIM. He transformed that. We don't need IP facilitator, we need IP Mitra. So IP Mitra is facilitator, he is a formal approach on hand-holding. So somebody needs to file a patent, we'll get the document, we'll try to make it as per the compliant and we'll offer this. But Mitra has something add-on to this. And as soon as we have again approached to the IP fraternity that who would like to become IP Mitra, from 465 we have more than 2100 IP Mitra in the country. They are not just helping in the patent filing or trademark filing, copyright filing, design filing, but they are equally end-to-end standing beside the creators, innovators, to ensure that they just not protect the IP, they also equally monetize this IP. This is the change which is happening. In copyright sector, it's of course the informal IP right, but we need a serious awareness and promotion. More than 1.5 lakh crore industry. I go by the Bollywood and the regional movies and the radio, wherever, Zingle, so many creative musical work, artistic work, literary work which is being done. They are not getting formal IP protection. This is a big lacuna in the system. We need to have this. So much of a content which is being utilized outside India also. I think such kind of a awareness promotion is required. And when we have a can approach. We can has the can approach that we all collectively can do this. So this approach will lead us towards the new regime which we are trying to strengthen, and the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry is right in the forefront, in the center of realizing this kind of a transformation in the business capital. This is something which is again, this clear cut set the path wherein we want to transform the entire formal economy into the IP driven technology, knowledge embedded economy. And wherever this kind of a transformation has happened, the ultimate result was a better societal livelihood. And classic example which I would like to mention, Nandini ji has also delivered yesterday. Beside the scientist in heart, Nandini ji, I am sure she is the rocket woman of the country, the joint project director of a Mars mission. We invited on a World IP Day in New Delhi yesterday. She made a submission. Beside this rocket woman has also the societal aspect and the mother inside the lady. And she has transformed entire way the mission has taken up. But equally, we have to learn that. And this is not just one Nandini. Each and every woman has a diversified role which they are playing in this life. And they right from the morning till late evening, various diversified role which they are playing. They are really a social transformer. They are taking the entire Bharatiya culture and generation to generation they are transforming this culture. And in this 21st century, we see women playing a pivotal role here. And WIPO IP Day's theme was also there, Women and IP Accelerating Innovation and Creativity. This is in true sense having a most relevant topic this year, because woman has this potential. We need Nandini ji, Indrani ji and Mrudula ji, who are the IP warrior inside. And so many such IP warrior has a potential to transform. And they are in true sense the 21st century's IP carrier as well. Beside the cultural carrier, they are IP carrier as well. And this is something which is going to transform the entire efforts which government, society and the IP fraternities putting in towards strengthening the IP ecosystem towards the knowledge economy. And I must say that kudos to all those women professionals, scientists, researchers, they have put in their efforts in this line. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pandit. And you have very effectively given the background of the recent policy initiated by the Honorable Prime Minister, and under his guidance, the effort to make Indian economy a truly IP-driven knowledge economy. And one important point was the concept of IP Mitra, who not only are handholders, but they help actually in getting the patents, etc., registered, and even in its monetization, which I think is very important message coming out. So thank you very much. And I move on to my colleague, Srimati Ashwini Bhide, the Additional Municipal Commissioner, BMC, to talk about the innovative initiatives and creativity highlights from the corporation.
Good morning, Dr. Sanyal, organizers of this program, and my esteemed fellow panelists. Since Indrani ji called me a few days back to be one of the panelists, I was wondering, with the least domain knowledge, why exactly I would be doing at the panel. but I think I'll restrict myself to innovations which we have been doing. But I also grabbed this opportunity to learn about this sector, being a bureaucrat, being a generalist who keeps dabbling in different fields. So I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to learn. When we talk about innovations, we know that there are different types of innovations. Some innovations, they are breakthrough innovations. They have global implications and applications, and we all have been experiencing the benefits of such innovations. There are many multiple small ubiquitous innovations which keep improving our life, which keep bringing comfort and ease of doing things in our life. There are innovations which are patent protected, some of them are commercially utilized, some are made available with non-commercial interests. There are many innovations which all of us have been getting benefited by, but the credit to their real inventors is never given. So there are all kinds of innovations. So what exactly government does in this sector? So as we have seen what Dr. Pandit or Dr. Sanyal have been doing, the government is a kind of a regulator or facilitator or enabler for the intellectual property rights and many other aspects of innovation, where they create mechanism to protect the intellectual property and even create an enabling system for its commercialization and larger public use. Government also works as a incubator or a motivator for the startups or the innovators, and many government entities, universities, even the smart cities have been doing it. State governments also have the innovation societies which keep having policies, designing policies and running programs to motivate the startups. Similarly, in the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, we ourselves run an incubator. It is called SMILE. It is led by our business development department. My colleague Shashibala is also here, who is in the forefront of this initiative of ours. It is basically a society for municipal Mumbai's incubation lab to entrepreneurship. That is how its long form is, and it is basically a company where we have our own officers and also many leaders from the private sector who guide us. And this, the kind of startups we motivate, they are basically those startups who work on the civic problems, because there would be different kinds of startups. So those problems which are faced by the citizens in their day-to-day life, and the municipal corporations, various departments, when they try to solve these problems, they need these kinds of innovations. So we have been working on many of these innovators and startups. We run challenges for them, and once they are onboarded, with the help of IIT's incubator sign, we have first co-incubated them. Now they are fully onboarded with us, and we give them pilot projects through various departments of ours. So these initiatives, these innovations are right from many innovations in health sector, from having a whole genome sequencing of TB to eco-bio traps, which are basically done for used for controlling the mosquitoes in Mumbai slums. There are many startups who are working with us. We are trying to create policy framework for them. Even after giving this pilot projects, how we can involve them in procurement, how procurement processes could be eased out for them. All those things we are doing. And government's third role is innovator itself. So government's various agencies keep on doing innovations, and these innovations are not necessarily product innovations which we see in the private sector, but they are mainly process innovations. As Mr. Sanyal mentioned, that processes are very tricky, and that's a very mundane job, but it is very important job that you keep innovating your processes. I will just give you a couple of examples which are apparently mundane, but they made large impact. One example is a 25-year-old when I was in the initial days of my service, and we had in the rural areas of Nagpur, we had started with something called low-cost water weir or bandharas, what we call. So this concept was developed by some NGO, but they didn't have the bandwidth to basically take it in public. So we changed some processes. We basically involved common public. We take ownership from people, and could scale up that innovation, and that made a big impact in the district of Nagpur. As far as BMC is concerned, we have been doing multiple innovations which are very tech-based innovations. In the COVID management system, Mumbai was praised for its COVID management, and that was the backbone, was the kind of tech platform which we had created, and the war room which was working in BMC, where we took help from the major innovation which happened in the by way of COVID platform at Government of India level. We latched onto that, created our own interventions, and then it helped us a lot, where we involved private sector, we involved many volunteers and other innovators, and many new startups, many innovators started working with us, so that helped us a lot. In addition to that, we have so many other smaller innovations, like BMC's own chatbot, which is giving helping people basically to have their civic problems resolved. We have BMC on maps. We have these CCTV cameras which are put in the city for traffic management. So by running some video analytics on them, we are using that data for solving the civil problems. So there are multiple such innovations. We have our all building properties. Basically, their surveys are done, and we have some SAC numbers given to these properties. So we are creating building UIDs, so that all the data related to buildings will be associated with that particular UID. So these are very smaller interventions. They are based on some innovation which is already made. We are thinking of this 3D twin of the city. We ran a pilot recently, where that 3D imaging could help us in resolving many of our other problems, or those various departments, right from the fire department to SWM, how they can utilize this kind of digital platform that is being contemplated. Even for parking, we are coming up with some GIS-based new solutions. So these are the various initiatives and innovations BMC has been doing, and my team is here, so I'm sure that they all would get benefited by the deliberations in today's topic, and that will encourage us to continue with this innovation culture in our corporation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ashwini, for giving an excellent example of the role that the local government can play in not only solving the civic problems, using the innovation, but also to give incentive and facilitation to the innovators for incubation, and later on to connect them with smaller projects, and after that they could come and stand on their own feet. So this is an excellent example, and we all know kind of remarkable, phenomenal work that BMC did during the pandemic, and many people experienced some of the technologies that she talked about. I move on to Dr. Devendra Narayan Singh. He is the D.L. Shah Chair Professor for Innovation, Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Bombay, to speak on the role of academia on IPR and innovation. Dr. Singh,
thank you very much, Jain Saab, and the organizers, Indrani, and everybody, and the audience. I come from the field of academics, and I have been in academics since 30 years as a teacher cum learner. And I always wondered that most of the most famous creations of the mankind were not patented. Ramayana, Mahabharata, Gita, all these things you can count, and they were not patented. Why? Now, we are in the process of proving that we are genius. We come from the most branded schools, and hence we have to patent our ideas. Of course, we have been hearing all these things. If you go into the issues which are forcing us or which are compelling factors, the things which come out are very clear. Number one, what are the deterrents? Since childhood, we have been mugging all the formula in mathematics, chemistry, physics. We never questioned why somebody gave these equations. All right, it was written in the book, we mugged it up. The discovery came from Canada, in the coastal region, and we wanted to apply these findings in the central part of Maharashtra, let us say. Look at the contradiction. So, this is where the point is that we have to start educating our students at a very early stage. And as Dr. Pandit said, the mothers are the best teachers, and they always taught us to question. And out of the questions comes the, unquoted patents. The way you sing a lori, all right, to make a child sleep. That is your patent, but you did not patent it ever. Unless this Bollywood came forward and then they made movies out of, how to make babies sleep. And then there are books which are becoming very hot seller in the market, parenting these days. So, to cut it short, the point is we have to start early at the KG or the pre-nursery level to make students question. When they come to me for doing advanced research in civil engineering or material science, most of the time goes in making them understand that please do not follow anybody. Why should I follow an equation which was given 30 years back by fully knowing the fact that the entire world has changed in last 2, 3, 4 years? That's the first question. So unless you question what's existing, the intellect doesn't come out, it doesn't get reflect. Another thing is that suppose if I have a lot of intellectual ideas, where are the takers? That's what we were having a discussion with Mr. Sanyal some time back. I might be having so many ideas in my mind. I mean, many times I travel and I meet fellow passengers, and it's my habit to talk to the cab driver also to find out what's his hobby. A city like Bombay, has several of the cab drivers who are the best poets. I mean, if you just explore, you'll find out that these are the guys who are very creative and they are waiting for a day when their poems and the poetries will be top hit in the Bollywood. But unfortunately, nobody can help them, including myself, because the journey gets over in 45 minutes and I forget after that who was the guy who was driving me to the Powai to Churchgate. So this is a serious question on which a debate is required, that despite doing research, despite doing something innovative, who are the takers? All right? This has to be in place. Unless this is going to be in place, there was a time we used to publish papers. Now I know that the days are gone when people are interested in your papers, because these are mostly, nobody's interested in that, because the question is that who is going to employ these ideas? Who is going to use these ideas? Application part. My another point is that awareness. Most of the students, including the professors like me, were not knowing about our IPR issues. I started patenting about 10 years back. That too when I was challenged by my student, undergraduate student, who settled down in Germany. And he came and he said that I would like to file a patent on fly ash and how to convert fly ash into a sand. I'm sure many of you must be aware that there's a big shortage of sand in the infrastructure industry in the country. And we are looking for the alternate materials. Well, this thing never went into my mind, though I've been working on this material since last several years. And it so happened that I wanted to file this patent with him, but then somehow I was not very confident that why should I be harping on someone else's ideas, and why should I not be filing patents of my own. And then came the point that whatever ideas I had thought about 15 years back cannot be patented now, because that was the time when everybody was trying to publish research papers, and once the papers have been published, the ideas are in the public domain. But this is a basic hassle which I faced earlier. So past has to be rewritten. All right? The art of patenting and the patent rules have to be redefined. That's something which is very, very important. My another point is that most of the creative guys who are sitting in the industry, in the corporation, in the academia, in any walk of life, they have to become leaders rather than followers. You have to change this type of education system where whatever D.N. Singh quoted has become an equation. No, it's not possible. People should question. Well, this is not correct. So first thing is creativity improvement in terms of making people understand that whatever they are thinking is of substance. That's very important. Very recently, I had conducted Technology Vision 2047 event at IIT Bombay, where through Ms. Malkani, I met Jansab, I met Dr. Mali, and this was a big event which I did. There were more than 120 corporates and academia from all over the country. And these YouTube videos are available. Ms. Malkani, if possible, can you please share the links with people who will be interested in that? And that would be very good. So thank you very much. And I'm really enjoying being here and being a part of this We Can. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh. In fact, I was part of that program that you conducted on, on behalf of TIFAC, and that was a wonderful program. And during your brief presentation, you have talked about the need of creating greater awareness. People are innovating, traditionally, but they have not been patenting. So, yeah, that's very important. And that is precisely when I talked about one of the issues is creation of awareness among different stakeholders. And then, of course, there's something basic to the very learning process that we have to encourage creative learning so that more and more people could innovate. So thank you very much. I move on to Dr. Nurullah Bele, the Professor of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Patent Consultant, to speak on the evolving role of patents in the pharmaceutical sector. Dr. Bele, please.
Thank you so much. So very good morning to Sanyal ji, organizers, my fellow panelists and the erudite audience. I am a blend of academia, I am a pharmaceutical researcher myself, and I am a patent consultant as well. So, and I am supposed to talk about the evolving role of patents in pharmaceuticals. So pharmaceutical holds a very unique place when it comes to patenting. And let me tell you that when we buy medicines from the market, there are two types of medicines available. One is the innovator medicine. When someone discovers the new molecule and it comes for the first time in the market, it is called a innovator medicine, and the companies like the multinational companies like Bayer and GSK, they are the innovator companies. When the patent expires on the generic medicine after 20 years, anybody can make that medicine because the monopoly has gone. And when such medicine comes into the market, that is called a generic medicine. And we know that India is a big power when it comes to generic medicine. All our pharma industries, to name it a few like Cipla and Dr. Reddy's, they are all generic companies. And the entire game of pharma industry runs around patenting. Why so? Because the cost of, it is said that the cost of inventing one new molecule today is average cost is stated to be $2.6 billion. Okay, and therefore, that is the reason that none of the Indian pharma companies are majorly involved in drug discovery because nobody has that kind of budget. Now, why it revolves around patents? Because you have to patent everything because $2.6 billion are at stake when you are bringing a new molecule into the market. Now, where does India stand in all this? I have been told to speak about the evolving role of patents. So we have come a long way as far as the pharma industry is concerned and the patenting is concerned. We can divide that patenting period as far as pharma is concerned as pre-1970s, 1970 to 2005, and post-2005, where there were very major reforms which have made the Indian pharma industry what it is today. So you might have heard about our dadis and pardadis saying that she delivered 10 kids, of which only 4 survived. Okay, one of the major, because there was a very high mortality rate in the earlier days, and major reason of, one of the reasons why the mortality rate was so high was the medicines were just not available. So when we got free, we were, in 1947, we were using the old British Patent Act of 1911, and the major challenge before the government is how do we resolve this problem of mortality. So we changed our patent law in 1970, and what the major change was, we started giving away only process patent on pharmaceuticals and no product patents. To give you an example, paracetamol is a API, is a drug which is a product. So from 1970 onwards, there were no patents on paracetamol as such. To give you an example, just the process of making paracetamol can be patented. This move has turned around the Indian pharma industry like anything, and we know that we Indians are very good at jugaad innovations. So once we knew the process of making a product, we started finding out non-infringing processes of making the same product, because there was no patent on product in India as far as pharma is concerned. So after that, there was a boom in the pharma industry, and before 1970s, India was the country where the number of medicines being imported was largest. Today we are the third largest exporter of the medicines. We are called as pharmacy of the world, and the Indian pharma industry has bloomed and boomed only after 1970. But then came the GATT and the Uruguay rounds, and India had to become signatory to trade-related agreement on trade-related aspects of intellectual property. After we did that, we had to stop discriminating the pharmaceutical patents from the others, and we had to start giving away product patents again on pharmaceuticals, and India became fully compliant with TRIPS in 2005. So now we are giving away product patents, but in our patent law, there are very unique sections or clauses because of which we can avoid abuse of patenting system by the pharma industry. Now, when we are talking about pharmaceuticals and medicines, this becomes a very unique case, because suppose there is a television in the market which costs 2 lakhs and it is patented. So you can say that those who can afford can buy, those who can't afford need not buy. But when it comes to a blockbuster drug about cancer, before that type of cancer was not curable and it has come to the market. We can't say that because it is expensive, those who can buy will buy, those who can't buy will die. So this becomes a very unique case, and as far as India is concerned, we are stopping the abuse of patent rights by stopping the big pharma by using section 3D and compulsory licensing and provisional patents. I'll appreciate more questions on this because we are running short of time. But at the same time, our generic industry is also booming. So the patents or IPR is always a balance. Okay, you have to always maintain the balance. If your balance tilts in favor of the innovators, then the things become more expensive to the public. And if it tilts in the favor of public, then the innovators are discouraged from innovating. Okay, so being a developing country, when it comes to pharmaceuticals, we have to first think about our people, but at the same time, because your industry is also so growing at such a pace, we have to think about the industry as well. So a very important statistics was shown by Sanyal ji. So let me tell you that in 2019, there was only 2.7% rise in worldwide patents related to pharma, but in the amount of rise in Indian people, Indian nationals and Indian companies filing patents in pharma has rose up to 17%. So which is indicating that we are getting actively involved in discovering new or inventing in the area of pharmaceuticals. But as we take this way, and if we mend our systems, we mend our laws in such a way so that we will have to accelerate this invention, we are surely likely to lag on the protection we had, which was in favor of common public. So we are on that, at that point right now, and we will have to decide which way we want to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bele. This is a very important area of patenting in pharmaceutical, and as you rightly mentioned, on one hand we need to promote, we need to help or incentivize innovation, but at the same time can't leave the general population to the mercy of the multinationals to fix whatever price they want to and deprive them of their basic, I would say, right to health. Now, come to the last panelist, Dr. Prashant Mali, who is an advocate, cyber and privacy, to speak on legal aspects related to IPR and the challenges in the digital age. Over to you, Dr. Mali.
Thank you, Dr. Sanyal and Indrani ji for calling me here. And since I'm a practical lawyer practicing the whole aspects, I want to share this. The most important first part in IPR is registration of IPR. And since we're talking about Amrit Kal, Dr. Unnat, for having this Amrit experience, this for registering IPR, we need to have Amrit Anubhav in Amrit Kal. So why don't we make this app-based registration of trademarks, and at least trademarks to begin with, and the experience of this UI should be appealing to all, like to every, even a shopkeeper sitting, like we do it for shop and establishment license here in BMC. First it was a task. Now it is so easy that we just have to take a printout. So trademark has to be at that level, I feel, if we really want to penetrate across the country. Now we have issues with the digital signatures and portable compatibility of operating systems. So I think that could be a real Amrit Anubhav in Amrit Kal, which we should really focus on to get as much as this IPR getting registered. Second thing, are we moving towards the second thing is the policing and handling the remedy part. So IP policing, that is how do we create deterrence? Now we are able to register a lot of IPs, but what happens when the IP gets violated? So if IP gets violated, if we can't show that we are having enough deterrence when IP is getting violated and spread the awareness amongst people that if you violate an IP, then this kind of punishment or this kind of fine is going to be levied on you. If that awareness is not there in people, people will keep doing these mistakes, and hence the data theft and hence the data leakage is happening in corporate world. Just now we are handling a case of Bennett & Coleman, Times Pro company, their data has been taken away by their ex-staff or working staff to some other company, competitor's company. So IPR infringement is a reality. IPR violation is a reality. But IP policing, that is to create deterrence, is we still are lagging. So we need to have policy formulation and strengthening the law and implementation of it is very important. The next part is obviously coming to the courts. The good news is Madras High Court recently, in a few days before, have come out with IP division rules. Bombay High Court is lagging. Delhi High Court already has it. So we have IP division rules. So we have a bench of the court which exclusively deals with IP related issues. So what happens there is then when the client and the lawyer, when they go towards the bench, they are more confident. They don't have this preliminary question in their mind whether the lawyer is aware of the IP laws or the judge is aware of the IP laws, because generalist judge addressing specific tech related laws or tech related things becomes really questionable in the minds of corporate specifically. So when we have this IP rules across the courts or IP division rules across the courts where IP literate judges are sitting to adjudicate those injunctions which are very important when it comes to the IP and stay orders to the common man. So having IP division rules in all the high courts across our country immediately is an immediate requirement. So we adjudicate the matter properly. And the next thing and the last thing possibly from the because of time problem is handling all trademark related disputes in the ODR format, online dispute resolution format, because right now we again go back to the hearing part, then the people are assigned for hearing over there, and these all could be automated. This could be automated. Hearing of trademark application could be automated via artificial intelligence even. So the first part of hearing can be automated with artificial intelligence, and it could be the first part of dispute resolution can be very fast. Or an ODR right now, which we are implementing in the Appellate Committee under IT Act, can be also implemented in the IPR law. So ODR in IPR will really help solving IPR related issues very fast. So these were my few pearls for what we can do going further. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant Mali. In fact, you have touched upon the most important aspect. We may have great policy, but if the enforcement is poor or policing is poor, then nothing really benefits the citizens. You talked about app-based governance of the trademark act, etc., meaning digital governance, and some kind of a deterrence that should be there in the system as part of the IP policing. And also, I think very important point of this IP division rule, which if not special court, we have a kind of a designated court to especially look into these disputes. So thank you very much for guiding all of us on the subject. Over to Mrs. Malkani now.
Thank you, Mr. Jain. Thank you so much, all the panelists, for bringing in your different views. We are indeed very richer today, or I should say, that's improper English, very knowledge-based items have come into the public domain, and I'm sincerely hoping that as we start the public interaction, that questions will be appropriately now directed to the panelists. And Mr. Sanyal, may I also request you, should a question come to you, to also take it? Yes. So that will be a good beginning. But may I now ask the first question? I beg your indulgence. And the first question is to our Honorary General, Consul General from Georgia. Mr. Ahuja, thank you so much for coming and being with us today. What are your thoughts on international, or rather, would you share your thoughts on the international perspective, keeping Georgia in mind, on the relevance and importance of GI tagging and other aspects of GI in the context of India vis-a-vis the global scenario? Do you have some thoughts which you would like to share? Can we have the mic here, please? Thank you, Mr. Ahuja.
Good afternoon, all the panelists, Sanyal Sahab, and the other distinguished panelists sitting on the dais. Georgia, the country which I am representing over here, is basically a very small country. It just has a population of 3.5 million people. And it is so well advanced that 5G came to India just about a year and a half back. They had it 7 years back. So it's very well advanced country, but it is a small country. Just now Mr. Kalia has said that the online issue is the major aspect which is presently being practiced in a very big way in Georgia. And that has solved many problems. Because the judiciary in India, whenever a dispute does come up, especially in the IPR or in other fact, it is a very, very time-consuming factor. And this factor, in fact, it does not allow the innovative people to come forward and give their own outlook towards the IPR issues. IPR is a very, very important aspect which the developed countries are using it, and they are minting money out of the IPR system. I would like the August gathering over here, the startups should be given all the opportunities, and we should reduce maximum of the paperwork which is involved, maybe of registration, patronizing, or any other aspect. That is an important issue. And with our PM's outlook of Atmanirbhar program, and to make in India, innovation is a must, and that is very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahuja, for sharing your thoughts. Can we have, are there any online questions already here in queue? If so, then do share, because we would like to have some online question. In the meantime, from the audience, anybody has a question? Yes, please. The mic may please be given to the gentleman here. The lady there.
No,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Gentleman.
My
yes,
name
please.
is Amit Dev. I hold over 20 IPs in AI, artificial intelligence. We started in the state of Gujarat as a name of DG Valley, but it is now continuing more as academic and other thoughts. But my question to Mr. Sanyal in general is that in all countries of the world, IP is facing a major transitional and transformational challenge from AI. The biggest of the AI cases today are not AI in totality, but AI misleading and confusing the IP and people taking wrong advantage of that. One is the delay. Delay is causing great concern because in the world of AI, 3 months is as much as 10 years of the global progress. Last 3 months, we had heard more of AI than what probably when many years back our Honorable PM created the RAISE, Responsible AI for Social Empowerment in 2020, where I was one of the acting partner on the planning. So I see that what he told never went to anybody's mind, including many of the bureaucrats and officials. But today, all of that are proving true. And when we see that, have we lost the 3 years where we could have jumped so many years ahead of us? So I want Mr. Sanyal to add that how AI can play a very leading role in that.
So, I'm not 100% sure what your question is, but let me answer what I think it is. So, what is the role of AI? First of all, I am not one of those who believes that AI is necessarily a problem. There are obviously safeguards we need to put. We need to create handrails for certain kinds of misuses, particularly multiplicative behaviors that AI may do. And I agree on that with likes of Elon Musk and so on. So there are certain multiplicative activities that AI can do, which we need to completely control. Having said that, I am not of the view that AI per se is an enemy. I think for the most part, it is going to be a friend. Just show you an application here in the field of IPR that we were talking about, patenting and trademarks. Now, it can take forever to try and, for example, let's take a trademark, some design. Okay, it will take forever for somebody to go through all of the kinds of things and try and compare and see whether something is a new trademark or there's an existing trademark. This, on the other hand, a AI-based system can do in seconds. So this is an area where AI will be a friend. But as you yourself pointed out, there are areas where things will get complicated. And by the way, there is a large area about software patenting, which Unnat also can help me answer. Because it is moving so fast, as you mentioned, and things are moving so rapidly, no patenting system, by the way, not forget ours, not even the most advanced one can actually deal with it quite easily. So there are areas where I think we need to be careful not to allow the needs of patenting to actually get in the way of innovation. After all, what is the purpose of this whole exercise? The purpose of the whole exercise is to encourage innovators to be able to benefit from their research efforts, etc. Now, if it turns out that our patenting system is actually getting in the way, then we need to be very careful. And one of the reasons why in the area of software, India has been somewhat reluctant as far as the software patenting thing is concerned, is related exactly to this issue. Now, does this solve the problem? No. As with anything, you're making some trade-off somewhere. And so far, this is a particular trade-off has been made. And I'd like Unnat to also maybe add a few words on this.
See, on the AI aspect, if we take an example on the content which is getting developed. So, ChatGPT and all such solutions which are, or platforms which are available, and we widely use this. Now, let's take an example on the challenges, which type of AI challenges which we are going to foresee. So, there is a, hello? There is a James Bond movie. If we see that we all like James Bond movie, and there is a real-time incidents which is happening in some place. And I am a fan of, say, as Amitabh Bachchan, and I want to see Amitabh Bachchan playing a James Bond role, and on a live incidents. So this is entirely a hypothetical, but it is translating exactly a movie on a live incidents, Amitabh Bachchan playing a James Bond role. So this is AI which can do this. Whether this is a copyrightable content or not, because there is no original creator. The entire brain behind this is the coding which is doing all this. So from the personality right of Amitabh Bachchan, it is pulling. This is again a matter is sub judice, but yes, there is a right which is there in the matter. From that, it is taking the best aspect, from the action aspect, taking from the James Bond, and the real story which is happening from media. So in media, each and every content which is reported is a copyright content. From every bits and pieces, it is combining and it is generating a hypothetical movie. And this movie is commercial. So who has the right on this movie? Amitabh Bachchan has a right? Or the James Bond has a right? Or the media who has reported the live incidents, who has the right of this? This is a big debatable question. The entire world is facing. It is not just for India. Everyone is facing the challenge. And it is over a period, I must submit that over a period, the rules and jurisdiction and jurisprudence will also be going to establish the rules of the game. Certain things which are happening in India, or it has the territorial right. So again, on AI aspect, things are happening. People have started adopting the idea which is getting sparked to us, and we are working in the lab to realize this idea. Now, if we take an help of an AI, put a problem statement, and AI will give us a solution, and this solution we are just testing in the lab. So how much is the human intellect applied here? The human intellect is using, the AI is using this intellect aspect. So whether this kind of an invention, which is a product of AI, who should get the IP right? Again, that's a debatable, because the real solution design is done by the AI, not by the human. And IP right can be assigned to the human, not the machine. So over a period, I think we are not far away. In next few years, or maybe internationally also, this debate is happening in World Intellectual Property Organization and various other platforms in the bilateral mode, multilateral mode. So soon we are also going to come out with some policy or framework on the rules and guidelines on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pandit. Yes, please. The mic may please come this side. 1 minute. The gentleman is here. Can you give the mic first here, please? I will come back to you. I will come back to you. Just 1 second, sir. Just a moment, sir. There is something I would like to quickly add, that please always speak on the mic because this is a live show. That's number one. And most importantly, please ask a specific question and short. It's difficult otherwise to keep time. Thank you.
I like the terminology used by our Mr. Sanyal, partners in crime, and the presence of the Trimurti here, you know, and the requirement of strengthening the
please
IP.
speak on the mic.
To this point.
What is the question, sir?
The question is whether we can use the law students for 3 months, what you call internship, for the sake of strengthening
Keep the
IP
mic
process.
up, sir. It doesn't get recorded otherwise.
Whether we can have the law student as for 3 months internship for strengthening the IP process.
The question then would be answered by Dr. Pandit, please. Yes.
Absolutely. See, law students have to get used to with, they are going to practice the IP. So it is most essential that they also see the life out the other side of the table. And they need to experience that what is actually happening in the offices. So it is important, very well taken your suggestion, and we will work on this. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
patenting is a very good process, but I've been with the inventor for 3 years and visited some of the best patent consultant, and finally it was said that patenting, in case of patenting, there is a possibility of the invention being getting robbed or something like that. So how do you work on this?
It is a negative IP right. Patenting is a negative IP right. The thing which is granted is actually a negative right, not to allow anybody using your IP right. So the theft which you foresee is need to be enforced through a legal remedies, and any infringement which is happening. There is a set process in the act, and accordingly the action can be taken. Thank you.
Excellent. Has any online question, you ready with it? Because we do need to give, I will come back to you, sir. Just hold the mic. Okay.
So the question is, how is the government encouraging small startups and entrepreneurs to file patents? So first of all, look, startups and entrepreneurs want to file patents. I mean, one is, of course, we want to widen the number, but frankly, we need a machine, first of all, that processes these patents fast. Because what is happening right now is, a lot of entrepreneurs, startups, innovators, etc., once they have got a patentable idea, in India today, unfortunately, either they don't even attempt to patent it because it's so complicated and long, or if they are interested in doing so, actually go abroad and do it. So we have Indians going abroad to the US, Singapore. I even know one or two who went to China to patent their thing. Now this is a big loss to us because after all, they are creating an entity in some other country and giving the right to that, and then if that patent is a valuable patent, it's actually a loss to our ecosystem. So I think before we even go there and widen the net and try and encourage everybody to patent, at least the machinery inside the country needs to work fast so that it's a simple process for those at least who already do patent. So yes, we need to spread the word, but the first act is got to be to get the patenting system to move much, much faster than it does. And this is something we are really working hard on, and Unnat's team is hard at work at it. As I mentioned in my presentation, there were several things we need to do. One is get the process much, much faster, get the laws changes for things like, last minute oppositions, etc. has to be stopped. But very importantly, simply having far more people in the patenting system, and then giving them tools to do it. AI being one tool, which I just mentioned, simply giving AI as a tool radically lowers the amount of time that you need for doing searches and comparisons. So all of these things, the tools, including AI, the laws needed, the processes needed, and of course, the sheer number of people that need to be put into doing this, all of these need to be done. Let me say also that at the end of this 3 years, we will, my estimation, have essentially quadrupled our capacity for throughput from where it was in 2021. That's a massive increase in our capacity, which we will have in place. So in a 5-year period from 21 to 26, we will have quadrupled the throughput capacity, in my estimation, of our patenting system. Not a trivial thing, and that obviously, once that becomes smooth, it becomes faster, cheaper, etc. And then, once we have the pipeline for dealing with more and more patents, one, it will naturally encourage people to do it. And yes, then we can go out there and maybe even do a campaign of some sort to get our innovators, startups, etc. to patent in India. Yes, young man.
My question is to...
Yes, it's working.
My question is for Madhura ma'am. Like we are aware a patent lasts for 20 years. So big MNC pharma companies tweak the drug molecule despite there is no pharmacologic increase in pharmacologic activities. So how can we tackle that?
We already have a mechanism in place in our patent law. We have a section 3D which says that if there is the new form of a molecule, if it does not have any advancement in therapeutic efficacy, the patent is not granted in India. So that's a unique section that we have in India. We have been facing a lot of pressure to change it, but we still abide to it.
Yeah, it is one of such a provision, section 3D, which Mrudula ji has mentioned. This is particularly to stop the evergreening, because something which is existing, just a little modification and then further enhancing the life of the patent for 20 years. So that is no longer going to be made available to the community at a cheaper rate. And secondly, to stop the evergreening, it is essential to have the new out-of-box thought process for disease management, which is equally essential. So this stand taken by India has also been adopted by few countries in the world. And this is now going to set a new normal in the patenting process.
Yeah, and let me add to this. This is actually a very, very important question you have asked. This business of evergreening. You see, you have to remember, go back to first principle. Why are we doing this at all? We basically want to reward innovation because there is a certain amount of effort, etc., that goes into it. So the innovator needs to be rewarded. But do remember, in the end, the increase and incremental increase in knowledge that has been done is good for humanity, and it needs to spread. So there is a common good aspect to knowledge creation. We are restricting that common good aspect of knowledge creation for the benefit, for incentivizing this innovator. However, if we extend it forever, then clearly it's a bad thing because, you are restricting the common good. So this problem of evergreening is not a trivial one, and this is the pharmaceuticals industry is particularly susceptible to it, but others do it too, by the way. And what happens as a result of this, and I think US, if I'm not mistaken, is particularly susceptible to this issue, where minor changes...
3/4 of the new drugs coming in the market are
essentially old drugs.
Nothing new to offer.
Yeah. So essentially, what happens is one of the reasons in the US you have very high prices of common medicines is the fact that you have had this evergreening process. So basically, vitamin C is given packaged in a slightly different way, and you add little extra sugar or something, and then it becomes a new drug and then is sold in a different kind of way. And of course, their system has another incentive structure to then sell this particular vitamin C to you. So this is a very important issue of evergreening, and in India, we specifically have tried to deal with it. And we, not unique, but we are among the few countries that have gone to try and solve it directly. So very good question.
My 2 cents to add to both of you. We always have a possibility of declining such patents. Even if we don't have Section 3D, we have a non-obviousness ground. But that's a very subjective criteria. So for India, and considering in those days the amount of training our patent examiners had, it was very essential to have a bright line rule like Section 3D, कि कब देना है और कब नहीं देना है. And I feel that was a very good effort, which just slightly to digress, when I was doing my LLM in Turin, we used to have a professor coming from Professor Carlos Correa, who is a consultant to WTO on pharmaceutical patents. He comes from Argentina. When I told him that I am from India and I belong to pharma industry, he said, India has taught us how to make medicines available to poor people of our country, and we are walking on your path. So I feel Section 3D is one of those things.
And the same pathway, Sanjeev ji, I submit here that US FDA has also mentioned that if in, say, the anti-diabetic segment, if your drug is at par with the existing anti-diabetics, then they won't accept the dossier for the review and all. It should have a significant enhancement in the medicinal properties of the drug. This is nothing but indirectly following the Section 3D pathway in US also. US FDA is not accepting the similar line of therapy or a same standard, because they have also realized that there are 15 anti-diabetics into the market. Adding a 16th anti-diabetic is not going to survive. It is going to increase the therapeutic cost. So this is again, world is facing the challenge on the Me Too kind of a product, and somewhere it need to come out of a Me Too approaches, and thinking out of box is the wise call. We have so many therapeutic segment wherein we need the advanced level of a drug and medications. I think that shift is not going, and this addressing the evergreening is the wise call by India, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Pandit. I think, we are kind of running rather late. There is a lady there, am I right? Yes. Let's take a question here. I also would like to know, some questions have come on GI. Now, we are waiting for Dr. Rajnikant to give his address, special address. So, should I take the question now? Maybe after? Yes, I think let's do that. Let him
say he is a Rajnikant of GI.
So then we will take the question immediately after his address. So hold the GI questions which have come online for the moment. Yes, of course.
So I wanted to know, I am Beena Bhatia and I belong to the health, clinical nutrition, educational background. First of all, today, if we want to file for a startup or an intellectual property right, what is the current backlog if I need to file a new patent? How do we realize in which section? For example, you talked about pharma section, AI or technological. Who do we know who's the right person to approach? And we have heard, like what they've already discussed, is if they tweak it, then are we protected? Because people are very innovative in tweaking more than the actual innovator. What do you have to protect us for that?
The question is to whom, ma'am?
Anyone can answer.
Anyone.
So, thank you.
Okay, it's a free house.
Let me take, because
Absolutely.
I have told about IP Mitra. Just go to, and there was a question also from online. Go to the ipindia.gov.in, which is our website, and Google the IP Mitra. IP Mitra is going to handhold the startups in getting their IP right protected, and whatever the official filing fee and the professional charges under the startup IP program by DPIIT, this entire charges are getting reimbursed to the IP Mitra. So this is something which is most essential. Secondly, on getting the IP rights on a fast track mode, Government of India is offering the expedited examination. Form 9 and Form 18A filing in the patent application will fast track your IP grant, and as fast as the smallest tenure for examination and review is 41 days in India, which is nowhere we have seen. And many startups are availing the benefit of this Form 9, Form 18A, getting their patent granted within 12 years' time, applying the PCT in India with the granted claim, because if India is the search authority, they will get the granted claims filed with the PCT. PCT will definitely going to give a green signal on the international search report. Then they are filing to one or two in foreign countries, US, Europe or Japan. And with this cluster of IP, then they approach to the investor. And when the patent is granted, PCT is also having a green report and filed in 2-3 countries, Germany or US, Japan. And then they approach to the investor. Investors are very well versed with the value of this IP. They are investing in such startup. So this is a wise strategy for startup to adopt in India.
Thank you, Dr. Pandit. I beg everyone's indulgence online and in the audience. The session continues. But I understand that Mr. Sanyal has to leave because someone is waiting for him. So just give us a moment. We would like to share our appreciative memento with you. And we continue with the Q&A and with Dr. Rajnikant's address in a moment. That doesn't mean that after the session, questions won't come. You have our WhatsApp number, you have our email. Please, which was sent with the invitation, please feel free to send all your questions, and I can promise you that each and every question, and do mention to whom you are addressing, or if it is a general for the panel, all the questions will go to all the panelists, and I would request all the panelists and Mr. Sanyal also to kindly answer those questions, and we'll have it published on our portal. When we put up our report, which we shall do in the next few days, at that point, all the questions and answers will be there for everyone to refer to. So please don't mind if I have cut the Q&A short for the moment, or the public interaction for the moment. Deb, may I please request you, on behalf of the Bengal Chamber and We Citizen Action Network, since you are straddling both the boats, that if they would kindly give.
As I said, you have been the inspiration.
No, just 1 second. I have to, wait. Sorry, I understand that this is a special gift over here. So I need to tell the audience about this. Yes. Yeah, no, Dave, don't jump the gun. Sorry, I have to absolutely say it properly. And this will be, the Uttaraya or Angavastra is made from Dhonekhali sari, which is a GI tagged product of West Bengal. And it's with great pleasure that in Mumbai we are presenting it. Yes, we do understand that Dr. Rajnikant believes in bringing very pleasant surprises. Mr. Sanyal, just face the audience.
इसमें 2 GI है, बनारस ब्रोकेट की वीविंग है, और नेशनल GI लोगो इस पे बनारस जरदोजी से बना हुआ है। तो ये काशी से आया हुआ जीआई है और मिस्टर सान्याल साहब को हम इसको पहनाना चाह रहे हैं.
Let me also say here that both of them are linked to my family in two ways. Yes. I come from a Bengali family from Varanasi.
And a GI catalog of the Banaras crafts, which has published in the 3 international languages, English, French and Spanish. So we are also gifting him.
I will also take the opportunity.
Dr. Pandit, Mr. Sanyal, you are not going Mr. Sanyal, you are not going to be let off that easy. So, Dr. Pandit.
कल वर्ल्ड आईपी डे रहा. वुमन एंड आईपी एक्सेलरेटिंग इनोवेशन एंड क्रिएटिविटी, ये वर्ल्ड आईपी डे का थीम था. इंडियन पेटेंट ऑफिस में जो काम करने वाले यंग प्रोफेशनल्स हैं, उन्होंने इंडिया इनिशिएटिव्स के ऊपर एक छोटा रिपोर्ट बनाया था. वो कल रिलीज किया गया है, उसकी एक कॉपी है सर. तो ये यंग प्रोफेशनल्स को हायर करने के लिए सर के माध्यम से हमें अप्रूवल मिला था. उन्होंने यहाँ हमारे यहाँ 2 महीने काम किया और ये जो रिपोर्ट निकला है वो हम उनको दे रहे हैं.
Excellent beginnings, I must say. And we are much enthused to take this forward. May I request, Mr. Shubhat? Yes. Mr. Sanyal, can you spare just a moment?
Yeah, sure.
There is an official photo which we take as a group.
Okay.
So before you leave, I think we need to take that.
Okay.
Well, may I request all the panelists?
Yeah, why don't we
take the group photo? Just one second. May I please request Captain Ashok Malkani and Rajan Jayakar, trustees of WeCan, to be up on the stage. Please come. And the executive, and Saurabh Kapadia, where is he? Has Saurabh left? I'm so sorry. And Captain Saurabh Kapadia, our other trustee, please. And Mr. Shubhadeep Ghosh, please. The executive, the Director General, Bengal Chamber. I hope, Abhishek, you will be able to get all of us. What do we have to do? Should we come forward?
No, we can squeeze in.
Squeeze in. Okay, please come. Thank you so much, Mr. Sanyal.
Thank you.
Sorry, we have to leave, but we look forward to having you with us again, and I hope you will be able to spare the time.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much.
She also wants to leave.
One moment. It appears that we have really run short of time, but however, Mrs. Bhide has been summoned. So let me just request. Who has gone where? May I please have the memento for Mrs. Bhide, please? With great pleasure, may I please present our memento and the Angavastra, which I just said. This is very special in so many ways. One. always innovative. We now carry on. In a moment. Now, actually, I would request everyone to please be seated, because quite honestly, I know you need a little break, but that's all right. If people can come back here. We have the most delightful person delivering a very special address, and that is Dr. Rajnikant Ji, Padma Shri awardee, and the mover of GI in India. Indeed, it has been a great, how should I say, it was so interesting that I spent a couple of conversations with him over the last few days, and all the things that we commonly have never thought of made so much sense. So I request Rajnikant Ji to please deliver the special address.
Respected Malkani Madam, Devji, Honorable Comptroller General IPR, और मुंबई के विद्वानों की सभा में बैठे हुए ढेर सारे लोग, इस तरह की सभाएं हजारों साल पहले भी लगा करती थी, जहां चर्चा होती थी, विमर्श होते थे और शास्त्रार्थ भी होते थे। हम इसलिए आपको थोड़ा सा इस तरह की बात को कर रहे हैं क्योंकि जिस विषय पर हम बात करने जा रहे हैं, ज्योग्राफिकल इंडिकेशन, वो पेटेंट, कॉपीराइट, डिजाइन सीक्रेट, डिजाइन, इंडस्ट्रियल डिजाइन से बहुत अलग हट करके है। When we are talking about the intellectual property right, so these all are the individual properties. You will open a shop, you will go for the registration in a trademark. You will open a chamber of commerce, definitely we will register your logo. We are proud to say that we are sitting with the people who has created in the country as a chamber of commerce, the oldest chamber of commerce, the Bengal Chamber of Commerce. It's a really proud moment for me also. But they have also registered their logo. Nobody can copy. You are worried about the pharmaceuticals company, about the medicines, definitely. But nobody is bothered about the community property. When I am saying the community property, Patan ka patola, Patni sari, वर्ली पेंटिंग, मिराज और का सितार और तानपुरा, सांगली की टर्मरिक, रत्नागिरी का हापुस अल्फांसो मैंगो, या बनारस की साड़ी और ब्रोकेड, या लखनऊ की चिकनकारी. Nobody is talking about the how this product, how this craft will be protected. और कोविड के कालखंड में तो बताया कि ये टर्मरिक में इतना कुर्कुमिन है, इसको खाना है कोविड से बचने के लिए. दिस इज द बेस्ट क्वालिटी ऑफ द जिंजर. अभी तो बहुत ढेर सारे लोग को मालूम नहीं होगा कि वो ब्लैक व्हीट की बात भी अब हो रही है. जो 500 साल पहले भी लोग उस चावल को बोलते थे कि अभी ये लेबर क्लास के लिए चावल है, मजदूर के लिए चावल है. नाउ द पीपुल इज बाइंग इन द नेम ऑफ रेड राइस, ब्राउन राइस, बाजरा, मरुआ, झिंगोरा. प्रधानमंत्री जी कहते हैं ना श्रीयन मिलेट्स को, वो श्री अन्न आपको कैसे मिलेगा जब वो किसान उसको पैदा नहीं करेगा? वो खेत में होगा ही नहीं, फिर वो श्री अन्न आपको कहां से मिलने वाला है? आप 400 रुपए किलो बाजरे का आटा खरीद के खा रहे माल से। ये कोविड ने बताया कि गेहूं नहीं, मिलेट चाहिए, मोटे अनाज चाहिए। इसको बचाने के लिए कौन आएगा? Who will come to protect the artisans, craftsmen, stone carvers who has made the number of the beautiful buildings in the Mumbai, the carving in the Mumbai, जिसको now the people is saying the UNESCO World Heritage में शामिल हो गया. Who will fight for these artisans and who will protect their property, their intellectual property? The intellectual property is coming from beginning, generation to generation. 2500 साल पहले इस देश को लूटने की संस्कृति शुरू हुई, सिकंदर के आक्रमण के समय से, जिसको दुर्भाग्य से इस भारत देश में हिस्टोरियंस ने कहा कि अलेक्जेंडर द ग्रेट एंड आफ्टर दैट अकबर द ग्रेट। वो लुटेरा कैसे महान हो सकता है जो इस भारत की सांस्कृतिक विरासत को लूटने के लिए और दुनिया के बाजार में बेचने के लिए यहां पे आया? वो लूट हुई आपके मसाले के लिए, आपके हैंडलूम के लिए, आपके हैंडीक्राफ्ट के लिए। एंड यू विल सरप्राइज टू नो उन्होंने गुड़ को भी लूटा यहां से, और लंदन के बाजार में मुजफ्फरनगर से, मिर्जापुर से गुड़ को ले आकर के उन लोगों ने बेचा। अब हम जब पाटल पुटोला का अभी उदाहरण दे रहे थे, आप कल्पना करिए कि अगर वो वीवर नहीं बचते या पैठनी बनाने वाले लोग नहीं बचते, तो आप अभी प्राउड मोमेंट में कैसे बोलते कि वी आर वेयरिंग ए पैठनी साड़ी? जैसे वेद की ऋचाओं को बचा करके रखा गया, श्रुति कहा गया, वेद को श्रुति कहते हैं। आपको याद है, एक से दूसरा सिखाता है, दूसरा तीसरा सिखाता है। वो बची हुई है, तो आज वेद का पाठ आप कर रहे हैं, किसी मंदिर में जाते हैं, आपको श्लोक सुनते हैं, गुरुद्वारे में जाते हैं, गुरबानी सुनाई देती है, वो याद ही नहीं रहेगा, तो आप कहां से गुरु ग्रंथ साहब की पालकी को बनाने के ऊपर नक्काशी आप देखिए उसकी। वो चाहे आप काशी विश्वनाथ मंदिर के स्वर्ण शिखर में देखिए, या अमृतसर के स्वर्ण शिखर में देखिए, या श्रवण बेलगोला के जैन मंदिर में देखिए, जिन शिल्पकारों ने नक्काशी करके उभार का काम किया है, उस विरासत को बचाने के लिए वो काम तो करना पड़ेगा। जिसको पहले 2500 साल पहले लूटने आए थे, जिसको आचार्य चाणक्य ने गंगा पार नहीं होने दिया उस अलेक्जेंडर को, और परास्त करके भारत की भूमि से वापस भेज दिया। जिन्होंने बुक लिखी, दुनिया की लगभग सारी भाषाओं में उसको ट्रांसलेट किया गया, और कौटिल्य का अर्थशास्त्र, एवरीथिंग हैज डॉक्यूमेंटेड इन द कौटिल्य अर्थशास्त्र। अरब देशों में आज भी अगर कोई संकट आता है, तो वहां का शेख बोलता है, वो कौटिल्य का अर्थशास्त्र को जरा निकालो और देखो उसमें आचार्य चाणक्य ने क्या लिखा हुआ है इस सोल्यूशन के लिए। हम तो अभी जीएसटी की बात कर रहे हैं, 2500 साल पहले वन नेशन वन टैक्स की बात हुई थी, उसमें 2005 बैक। वो विरासत है आपकी। तो जैसे वैदिक ऋचाएं बचा के रखी हुई हैं, मंत्र बचा के रखे हैं, उसी तरह से आपका आर्ट एंड क्राफ्ट। हम जब अरुणाचल प्रदेश की बात करते हैं, तांगसा, मोनपा, आपातानी, वो 27 tribes are existing in the Arunachal Pradesh and 72 sub-tribes are there and all have their different ethnic fabric. आप दूर से वो ट्राइब के कपड़े को देख के, उनके ड्रेस को देख के समझ सकते हैं कि कौन सी ट्राइब के हैं। इवन की फैब्रिक में यहां तक बना हुआ है उनका कि ये फैब्रिक अगर कोई महिला पहनी है तो वो ये मैरिड है, और ये अगर पहनी हुई है तो 14 साल से नीचे की लड़की है। ये विरासत है आपकी, जिसको उस समय लूटा गया। बाद में ब्रिटिशर्स ने वही काम करना शुरू किया, लूट करके बेचना शुरू किया। और आज की तारीख में वो खतरा है मॉडर्न युग में दुनिया के दूसरे देशों से, जिन्होंने आपकी बासमती को लूटने का प्रयास किया। बासमती चावल को लूटने का प्रयास हुआ। और दुर्भाग्य थे, पिछली सरकारें सो रही थी, वो नहीं जगी, कुछ नहीं हो पाया। बाद में फिर सरकार जगी, हमारे जैसे लोगों ने हैमर किया और इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट में फाइट होने के बाद आप जीते, वापस आए और बासमती भारत की विरासत बनी और बची। ये बचेगी तभी बढ़ेगी, ये एक पार्ट है। बचेगा तो बढ़ेगा। अब बचेगा कैसे? भारत में बहुत समय के बाद में कानून में आया। आईपीआर तो बहुत पहले से था। जीआई का एक्ट 2003 में पार्लियामेंट में पहली बार पास हुआ। क्योंकि ऑनलाइन के माध्यम से हजारों लोग जुड़े हुए हैं, इसलिए हम थोड़ा सा बताएंगे कि जीआई है क्या। पार्लियामेंट में एक्ट पास हो गया, इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट में कानून में शामिल हो गया। वो कानून है, सरकार की स्कीम नहीं है, एक्ट है। वायलेशन पे बहुत कड़ी सजा है। अब है क्या जीआई? लोगों को लगता है कि साहब वो एक फैब्रिक है, एक टुकड़ा है, एक मैंगो है, एक बनाना है, एक मिठाई है, तिरुपति का लड्डू है। जीआई कोई एक प्रोडक्ट नहीं है। जीआई भारत की आत्मा है, जिसके वजह से पूरी दुनिया भारत की तरफ देखती है। जीआई भारत का मसाला है, जीआई भारत का कपड़ा है, जीआई भारत की मिठाई है, जीआई भारत का हैंडीक्राफ्ट है। हम बार बार ये कहते हैं कि तुम बुर्ज खलीफा बना सकते हो 200 फ्लोर का, लेकिन 200वें फ्लोर पे बनारस का बना हुआ सिल्क का पर्दा होगा, भदोही की कालीन होगी, वर्ली की पेंटिंग से सजावट होगी और बंगाल का डोकरा वहां पर रखा जाएगा सजाने के लिए। तो वो नहीं कर सकते हो तुम, पूरी दुनिया वो नहीं कर सकती है। हमको अपने उस हुनर से वर्ल्ड मार्केट को कंपीट करना है, इकोनॉमी में जाना है। हमने कहा भारत की आत्मा है, आप वो निकालेंगे, आप पूरी दुनिया में जाते हैं, आपकी पहचान आपके वस्त्रों से होती है। भारत में आप समाज को देख लीजिए, जब आप अपने त्योहार में सज्जित होकर निकलते हैं, महाराष्ट्र में कोई ड्रेस पहनते हैं, गुजरात का कोई फेस्टिवल ड्रेस पहनते हैं, उत्तर प्रदेश का फेस्टिवल ड्रेस पहनते हैं, या वृंदावन में जब होली के लिए आप जाते हैं वहां पे वहां का ड्रेस पहनते हैं। ये जो विरासत है, यही आपकी पहचान है। जीआई भारत की सोने की चिड़िया है, और ये भारत के लोगों ने नहीं बोला था, ये बाहर वालों ने कहा कि ये सोने की चिड़िया है और इसको लूटो चलो यहां पे। तो वो कोई उड़ने वाली चिड़िया तो थी नहीं, जीआई तो वही है, आपका आर्ट एंड क्राफ्ट है, विरासत है। अब छोटा सा इलाका है कच्छ का, शुरू में कहा गया कि सब पूरा रेगिस्तान है, नमक है, ये है, सारी चीज है। अकेले कच्छ के इलाके से 25 से 30 तरह के हैंडीक्राफ्ट हैं। वो कच्छ का भुज का जो इलाका है, जिसको कहा गया, क्यों, जब हम बृहत्तर भारत की बात करते थे, अब जो लोग, अभी भी बहुत लोग हमारे मित्र कहते हैं साहब ये तो पर्शिया से आए। हमने कहा पर्शिया कहां था? वो भारत का ही तो हिस्सा था। अफगानिस्तान भारत का हिस्सा था। ये तो भारतीय संस्कृति वहां तक तो रही है। हम लोग संस्कृत में श्लोक पढ़ते हैं ना, जम्मू द्वीप आरावर्ते भारत खंडे। भारत में तो बाद में आते हैं, पहले तो जम्मू द्वीप की बात करते हैं जो ऑस्ट्रेलिया तक फैला हुआ है। ये जो चीज है, यही ज्योग्राफिकल इंडिकेशन है, जो आज की परिभाषा में कहा जाता है कि सब एक भौगोलिक एरिया के अंदर में जो चीज हो रही है, यूनिक है, पिक्यूलियर है, पर्टिकुलर है, स्पेसिफिकेशन है, डिस्क्रिप्शन है और मेथड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन है। उसको बनाने वाले जीवित हैं। उस प्रोडक्ट को ज्योग्राफिकल इंडिकेशन का एक्ट, कंट्रोलर जनरल साहब का ऑफिस एक पूरी कानूनी प्रक्रिया के तहत देता है। जैसे इसी ऑडियंस में हमारे बीच में सागरिका जी हैं, बनारस ब्रोकेड एंड साड़ी जीआई रजिस्टर्ड है। अब मुंबई में आपको ओरिजिनल प्रोडक्ट कैसे मिलेगा, वो मुंबई में बैठ करके वो बनारस ब्रोकेड की जीआई थ्राइजर बनी और वार.50 के नाम से उन्होंने जीआई का टैग लिया है। वो इस बात की गारंटी देता है कि यही प्रोडक्ट अगर टैग लगा है, जीआई ऑथराइजर का नंबर है उसके पास में, दैट इज द जेन्युइन एंड ओरिजिनल प्रोडक्ट। तो रजिस्ट्रेशन का प्रोसेस हो गया, पार्ट बी में जीआई ऑथराइजर बनने का प्रोसेस हुआ। बिना जीआई का ऑथराइजर बने कोई भी जीआई के टैग को प्रयोग नहीं कर सकता है। उसमें ज्योग्राफिकल एरिया की मैपिंग होती है, एक लोगो का रजिस्टर होता है, उसमें पर्टिकुलर हर क्राफ्ट का अलग लोगो होगा, हर प्रोडक्ट का अलग लोगो होगा, अल्फांसो मैंगो का अलग लोगो होगा। है ये लोगो बन गया, वो प्रोडक्ट आपको मिल गया, अब तभी आप उस पर लगा सकते हैं। सरकार भी नहीं लगा सकती, बिना ऑथराइज यूजर बने कोई भी यूज नहीं कर सकता है। उसका क्यों नहीं कर सकता? रिप्रोड्यूस जीआई कहीं नहीं किया जा सकता है। अब हम तो दिल्ली की तरफ को भी जानते हैं, सारी चीजें वहां पे बन रही हैं। मधुबनी पेंटिंग बिहार के दिल्ली में बन रही है, वर्ली पेंटिंग यहां की वहां पे बन रही है। ये पार्ट है इन्फ्रिंजमेंट का। हमें कहने में दुख हो रहा है कि बंगाल का कांथा दिल्ली की एक संस्था ने पंजीकृत करा दिया और ऑनरेबल कंट्रोलर जनरल बैठे हुए यहां पे, मैं उनसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आपके पास में भी इसको लेके कंप्लेंट जाएगी और प्लीज बंगाल के काथा प्रोड्यूसर्स को, काथा आर्टिजन्स के एसोसिएशन को वो राइट ट्रांसफर करने का अधिकार प्रोवाइड कर दीजिएगा। कैसे दिल्ली का आदमी बंगाल के काथा का रजिस्टर प्रोप्राइटर हो सकता है? वो बंगाल के लोगों की इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी है, वहां के आर्टिजन्स की इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी है। अब वो इग्नोरेंस में, उसको मालूम नहीं है तो कोई कुछ भी कर लेगा। तो प्राइमरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी तो पहले जीआई रजिस्ट्री की है कि वो उसको देख ले और पहले बोल दे नहीं साहब आप बाहर नहीं, क्योंकि जीआई के कानून में भी है ओनली लोकल प्रोड्यूसर एसोसिएशन कैन फाइल द जीआई एप्लीकेशन। हमारी भूमिका तो एक फैसिलिटेटर की, जिसको अभी पंडित जी ने कहा कि अभी मित्र हम हो गए, वो फैसिलिटेटर शब्द का कोई बहुत मायने नहीं है। अभी तो हम भी 18 राज्य में 175 जीआई के साथ में लोगों को तैयारी करा रहे हैं, चाहे सिक्किम है, भूटान है, लद्दाख है। लद्दाख को भी अभी फर्स्ट हैंडीक्राफ्ट का जीआई मिला, वुड कार्विंग का। तो ये दूसरा हो गया कि ये जीआई है। कहीं पर भी जिस जगह का रजिस्ट्रेशन हो चुका है उसके अलावा, उस भूभाग के अलावा आप रिप्रोड्यूस नहीं कर सकते। इवन कि वो आर्टिजन भी माइग्रेट करके अगर जाएगा तब भी वो नहीं बना सकता कानूनी रूप से। क्यों? वो इसलिए कि आपने ऑर्डर दिया, बाहर से एक ऑर्डर आया कि हमें भदोही की कारपेट चाहिए, बनास की जरदोजी चाहिए। अब आपने यही धरावी में बैठ करके जरदोजी की तैयारी कर लिया और सेल कर दिया, और बनारस में बैठी हुई जरदोजी की महिला इंतजार कर रही है कि ऑर्डर हमको आएगा तो हम काम करेंगे, तो उसको तो कुछ नहीं आया। उसके राइट का वायलेशन हुआ, और उस राइट का वायलेशन हुआ जिसको उसकी फैमिली, उसके जनरेशन के लोग 5-7 पीढ़ियों से बचा के लेके आ रहे हैं, और उसको कोई सरकार स्कीम इंसेंटिव नहीं दे रही है। अभी तो हमें सिर्फ अच्छा ये लगता है कि प्रधानमंत्री जी भी जीआई को रिकॉग्नाइज कर रहे हैं। आत्मनिर्भर भारत में लोकल से ग्लोबल की जो बात करते हैं, हम बार बार ये कहते हैं जीआई इज ओनली लीगल लोकल। आप फ्रांस में बोलेंगे कि ये नागपुर का ऑरेंज है, वो बोलेगा भाई प्रमाण दिखा दो, वेयर इज द प्रूफ? ये नागपुर का है कि मेघालय का ये खासी मैडरिन है, ये वो भी बड़ा सुंदर ऑरेंज है, वो भी उसका जीआई हो चुका है। तो वो पूछेगा ना कि नागपुर का है, आप बोल रहे हो लोकल है, कुछ तो प्रमाण दिखाओ। तो वहां पे आप जीआई टैग दिखाएंगे तो उसको विश्वास होगा कि दिस इज द ओरिजिनल नागपुर ऑरेंज। ये गलत नहीं है, और वहां के फार्मर्स को, वहां के प्रोड्यूसर्स को, वहां के ट्रेडर्स को उसका बेनिफिट मिलेगा, और कोई भी एक्सपोर्ट कहीं से भी कर सकता है, उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। लेकिन प्रोडक्ट वहीं से आएगा निकल करके, तब तो किसान की आय दुगनी होगी ना। नहीं तो दूसरी जगह से चला गया तो फिर वही बोल रहे हैं कि लॉकाडंग टर्मरिक। मेघालय में आप सर्च करिएगा, भारत का नहीं, दुनिया का सबसे प्रीमियम टर्मरिक है लॉकाडंग टर्मरिक मेघालय में। जीआई के साथ एक, जब हम बोलते हैं ना लॉकाडंग टर्मरिक, मतलब लॉकाडंग जगह है। जीआई इज रिप्रेजेंटिंग द प्लेस। बनारस साड़ी शब्द प्रयोग होता है, बालचूरी साड़ी, पैठनी साड़ी, वो उस जगह के शब्द के साथ पहले आएगा निकल करके, बिना उसके नहीं हो सकता है। ये दूसरा पॉइंट हमारा हुआ कि कैसे उसका रजिस्ट्रेशन का एक प्रोसेस है जिसको भारत सरकार और आईपी ऑफिस काफी स्पीड अप में अब ला रहा है, तेजी कर रहा है। तो गति बहुत धीमी रही है, हमें कहने में कोई संकोच नहीं है कि भारत जैसे देश में अभी तक हम 500 जीआईज पे नहीं पहुंच पाए हैं। 2004 से अभी तक 500 नहीं पहुंच पाए हैं। चाइना मोर देन 7,000 है और जर्मनी अकेले मोर देन 9,000 है एक देश। वी हैव नॉट क्रॉस द 500। और पूरी दुनिया क्या बोलती है, भारत इतनी विविधता कहीं नहीं है। हम अगर खाली ज्वेलरी को जीआई कराना शुरू कर दे तो 500 तरह की ज्वेलरी खाली यहां पे है, 1000 तरह के म्यूजिकल इंस्ट्रूमेंट यहां पे हैं, 500 तरह की पेंटिंग यहां पे है, और एक एक शहर को ले लेंगे तो खाने पीने की कितनी चीज भरी हुई है। अभी तो एक बंगाल का रसगुल्ला लेकर के हम लोग खुश हो रहे हैं कि चलो बड़ा जीआई हो गया है। अरे उसी बंगाल में 50 मिठाइयां ऐसी हैं जो कि अभी जीआई हो सकती है, और मुंबई में भी हो सकती है, और किसी भी शहर में हो सकती है। बस 2 मिनट में अपनी बात खत्म कर रहे हैं। इकोनॉमिक ट्रेड से लिंकेज, जब जीआई होगा तो पूरी दुनिया में ट्रेड के लिए आप दावे के साथ बोल सकते हैं, दिस इज आवर जेन्युइन ओरिजिनल इंडियन प्रोडक्ट, हैंडमेड प्रोडक्ट। फर्स्ट, द सेकेंड यू विल गिव द गारंटी सोर्स ऑफ ओरिजिन। थर्ड, you will give the method of production is very ethnic। आज की तारीख में पूरी दुनिया और यंग जनरेशन और सारे लोग ये खोज रहे हैं। आप जितने लोग भी यहां पर भी जाइए मार्केट के अंदर में, 2 साड़ी आपको वहां पे दिखाई जाएगी। एक साड़ी बनारसी होगी जो कि मशीन मेड होगी, और दूसरी साड़ी होगी हैंडलूम की होगी, जीआई टैग होगी। अब आपको बताया नहीं जाता वहां पे कि ये मशीन मेड है, ये हैंडलूम है। वो ट्रेडर दोनों को हैंडलूम कह के बेच रहा है। ये दिस इज द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द कंज्यूमर। यू आस्क इफ दिस इज द बनारस साड़ी, वेयर इज द जीआई टैग? यू आर गिविंग द गारंटी दैट दिस इज द हैंडलूम साड़ी, सो वेयर इज द हैंडलूम टैग? हैव देयर एनी सिंबल, एनीथिंग that you can prove that this is the Banaras hand woven? Where is the guarantee? वो पूरा आपको स्टोरी सुनाता है, 4 पीढ़ी की कहानी सुना देता है, बोलता साहब हम तो 150 साल से मुंबई में हमारी शॉप है। ये नहीं चाहिए। छोटा सा बच्चा दुकान पे जाता है और बोलता है कि वी नीड द HB पेंसिल, वी नीड द रबर ऑफ नटराज, नटराज का रबर चाहिए। क्यों? वो बोलता है दूसरा रबर ले लो। बोलता है मैडम जी ने स्कूल में बोला कि नहीं HB पेंसिल लेके आना है, नटराज का रबर लेके आना है। 5 रुपए की कलम आप खुद खरीदते हैं, बोलते नहीं ये कंपनी का चाहिए। अरे आप 5 रुपए का पेन खरीदने में कंपनी देख रहे हैं, 50,000 की साड़ी लेके चले आए, वो हाथ की है, मशीन है, सिल्क है, नहीं सिल्क है। दिस इज द थर्ड पार्ट, द कंज्यूमर अवेयरनेस। रात में प्रतीक जी डिनर में हम लोग सब लोग साथ में बैठे थे, मैडम ने डिनर ऑर्गेनाइज किया था। हम देख रहे थे वहां पे कि वो एक लिस्ट थी डिजर्ट की, उसमें कोई बोल रहा है हमको ये वाली आइसक्रीम चाहिए, कोई बोल रहा है हमको ये वाली आइसक्रीम चाहिए, कोई बोल रहा है हमको ये वाली आइसक्रीम चाहिए। आप अपने खाने की चॉइस में उस कंपनी की उस चीज को प्रिफर कर रहे हैं, इसका मतलब है कि आपको विश्वास है। अब हम उन कंपनियों का नाम भी सुनने नहीं लेंगे कि हम वो एडवर्टीजमेंट नहीं करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन आपको ट्रस्ट है कि ये बढ़िया है, इसका टेस्ट ये है, इसकी ये क्वालिटी है. But we are going to the exhibitions. We are buying anything in the name of anything. And we are not observing that this product is the genuine or not. The money is going for the handmade or machine made. The money is going for the original product or duplicate product. So if the consumer awareness will come, and this is the big responsibility of the We Can. Because you are the citizen forum. So this is the big responsibility. The responsibility of the Chamber of Commerce also. Because you are a trade body. You must talk to the government how you will provide the support to export the GI product in the international market. Why the government of India is not giving the separate HSN code for the GI product? If you, Government of India can say, this HSN code is exclusively for the GI product. The product will give with the guarantee, and then we believe that again the Sone ki Chidiya will come with the effort of this type of the discourse, this type of the discussion. Thank you very much.
रजनीकांत जी ने जो बात कही है कि बंगाल के कत्था वाला जो इश्यू है, अभी तक मेरे पास ऐसी कोई कंप्लेन नहीं आई है, लेकिन मैं आश्वस्त करता हूं आप सभी को और रजनीकांत जी को भी, जैसे ही ये कंप्लेन मेरे पास आता है मैं उस पर जीआई एक्ट के सारे प्रोविजंस को ध्यान में रखते हुए उचित कार्यवाही तुरंत ही करूंगा.
थैंक यू सो मच. Thank you. I understand that Dr. Pandit will have to leave as well. He's been summoned as well. It is my great pleasure that I would like to, on behalf of our both organizations and all our audience, to present you a memento. Just one second. I think there were certain questions which came on behalf for GI. Could we have the questions, please? I know I have one here, which was sent to me earlier. That how does getting GI benefit manufacturers? And I think this was just now answered, the same question. So, I mean, answer the question in advance. Which was the question which came in? Is there a question here?
Oh, there's a question there.
It is the same one which was, it came on WhatsApp. In the audience, please.
This gentleman in front. There's one there.
Can you give the mic, please? Yes. The mic, please. Yes, sir. Please come forward. Please come forward.
My name is Anant, and it's not a question I asked, but I have a quick couple of clarifications, if you don't mind to ask, very simple level.
Oh, whom? It is directed to Dr. Rajnikant?
Dr. Rajnikant and maybe all the wise people on the days.
Yes, please.
So I was in France, and you mentioned the GI and the French connection. The French, every small little area have their own cheeses, their wines, chickens, murga. And they are protected. And the connection I'm trying to get towards, aapne ka consumer ka aapne, but the governments, the French government, the EU now, they are very focused on protecting their rights, GI rights. They're called AOC, but those rights. Also, just I'm sure you might know, but this basmati thing, there's a region called a state of Texas in the US, and I was up there, and that's when that basmati texmati thing happened. And India and Pakistan joined together. It was a combined lawsuit or a complaint in the whichever direction, WTO or ICC, I'm not so sure. But so for economic reasons, everybody can join together. We don't have to have fight with everybody.
थैंक यू. यहाँ भी चिकन को यहाँ भी मिला हुआ है, कड़कनाथ चिकन को जीआई है, और जिसके लिए फाइट थी कि छत्तीसगढ़ और मध्य प्रदेश के बीच में, और मेरिट के आधार पे छत्तीसगढ़ को कड़कनाथ मीट का जीआई मिला. जैसे बंगाल और उड़ीसा के रसगुल्ला के बीच में वो अननेसेसरी फाइट थी, लेकिन अभी दोनों को जीआई मिला. बंगाल रसगुल्ला को पहला मिला, फिर बाद में उड़ीसा रसगुल्ला को मिला. इसलिए जीआई में एकदम ये नहीं है कि ये आपका हो गया तो दूसरे को नहीं हो सकता. 10 तरह के मैंगो को मिल रहा है, 15 तरह के बनाना को मिल रहा है. जो जिस जोग्राफिकल रीजन का है वहां की यूनिकनेस होगी, वहां की स्पेशलिटी होगी, वो बनेगा.
Okay, anyone else like to respond? Yes, the question, yes, but if there was to the other one, there's any other panel. Please give the mic, please. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Sagrika. I've had the privilege of Dr. Rajnikant just mentioned my name in the conversation.
Yes.
This is not a question, but I'm an entrepreneur for 25 years. And my company started with roots from Banaras because I'm born and brought up there. And when I came into Bombay, I realized that there was a vacuum of the heritage textile that we talk about. So this is not a question, but just a response to this very interesting conversation we've had today, and it's a privilege for me to be here. So I would first start with the IP rights and the trademark and what my company has been facing. And like Mr. Mali said, that we need some kind of policing in there. So when I started my company and I said I wanted to be very basic, so the very basic construction of handloom, which is warp and weft. And that's how the name of my company came into being. Today, there are warp and wefts that exist all over the country, in spite of me having my trademark registration. And the only tweak of a N, ampersand, and A&D, that makes it viable and people to register. And they're also saying that they are my branches. Or one of them in Calcutta claims to customers that he's actually the main guy and he supplies to us. So for all the entrepreneurs over here, I know it's the same story we face, and unfortunately being in the creative side, we face the same kind of scenario even with the creatives. A little change in the flower, a little stem here and there, and it can be owned by the other one. So yes, that has to be something which we must look into, because it dilutes the brand value. Or the other way to look at it is that, well, we are at that position that everybody wants to be us. So yes, so there I would hope that the IP laws become stronger, and the processes, like we are talking about process reforms, especially generic words. Like if my brand was called Sagrika Rai, perhaps it would not have been copied, but because I wanted to be true to textile and a generic word came into being as the brand name, today I'm facing this difficulty. And yes, I do have very competent patent lawyers who are fighting the story or on it, but we wait for the hearings and so on, and it's been going on for 6-7 years. So the other companies are doing business in the same name, and so am I. And I'm hoping that my client remains mine. So yes, that would be some work to do for the IP concerned people. Coming to GI, I was again at the brim of a situation where, like how Sir said very rightly, that companies that fly by night, and they come into being and bring into duplicates, like Dr. Rajnikant clearly explained, of duplicates or machine-made products. and where, of course, my only hope is that with the GI registration, that will, going forward, create the distinction and the value of what we actually do. So yes, congratulations to Dr. Rajnikant for taking this forward. I do believe that it will make a difference.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for sharing your experience. We now close for the public interaction. Feel free to send in the questions on WhatsApp, SMS, the number shared, and the email. May I now invite Mr. Manish Sudan to please give the industry address with the corporate look. Your topic, I understand you are going to share, green intellectual property, a way forward towards sustainability. Mr. Sudan, I know that you have a PowerPoint, is that right? A presentation? Okay. So, if you have the mic.
Can I have the presentation, please? Oh, it's fine. Can you put on the presentation, please? Yeah. Yeah.
Can you hear?
Yeah. So, after I think a number of scintillating talks, I know I'm standing between lunch and you. Many people are already started looking towards the door, but I'll make sure that you people don't sleep in the next 15-20 minutes. Till the presentation is getting on, I think the topic which is given is on green intellectual property, a way forward for sustainability. And before I get into my talk about innovation, intellectual property, it's very important to understand the context. And as I got into corporate, we are trained to give presentations, and conventionally it's told, don't scare the audience. Okay, but the data, the figures that I'm going to tell you, it's actually scary. But I'm putting it not for the sake of putting it, but that's the reality we are living in. And just to give you more context, many of people may not be aware of the environmental concerns and regulations. 450 ppm of atmospheric CO2 will raise the temperature of Earth by 1 degree centigrade. And to just let you know, we have already touched 421 ppm this March. That's the situation we are in. To give you another perspective, the kind of grave situation we are in, typically to reach 100 ppm of CO2 levels take 5,000 to 20,000 years. We have just taken 120 years. That's the way we have progressed, if you call this as a progress. I'll give you another perspective. More than 1 million animal and plant species are now on the verge of getting extinct. This is really scary. And these reports are from many renowned international experts. Okay. And I think one of the audience was talking about artificial intelligence. I didn't interject. The way we have done the progress in last 1 century, 19th century, that's where most of the technological progress started happening. In a layman's language, if we do a post-mortem, what has led to this situation that we are talking today, in a very crude fashion, I'm very blunt in putting it, it's a technological advancements that we have done. And that looks very odd. Many people might be questioning what I'm saying, but I'll try to clarify that as I go along. Technology is a tool. You need to know how to handle it. And that's where we have gone wrong, whether we are talking about artificial intelligence, whether we are talking about any industrial revolution that has happened, whether we talk about steam engines, whether we talk about steel industry or chemical industry. And when we talk about this, I want to bring in the perspective of innovation and sustainability. And sustainability, what we are talking is actually long-term maintenance of responsibility. And this responsibility, typically we talk on 3 fronts: economical, environmental, and societal. I think talk just before me, Dr. Rajnikant was talking about that societal perspective in larger context. What are we carrying forward? But along with that, we also need to understand how we are carrying forward. What are the means to carry forward that? And we need to understand when we are talking about resources, this is given. These are very limited. Only God can create more resources, but we have to live with what has been given to us. And the only differentiator here is the innovation. That can increase the output from the given input. That can make it more efficient. And that's where the role of innovation comes in the sustainability. But more importantly, I think we need to talk about, as there has been a renowned business guru, Peter Drucker. He says, it's a very renowned theory of business. He says that every business that we see around is built based upon certain assumptions. These are assumptions about their customers, their supply chains, their raw materials. There is a fundamental flaw which has happened, and this has happened across, that people have never taken assumptions about sustainability. And that's where I propose, I always keep on talking about that we need to redesign our innovation process. Conventionally, our innovation process have never taken into account the sustainability angle. Typically, when we talk about innovation effectiveness, we talk about impact it generates, and that impact, what we talk about is in terms of money it generates, exclusivity that we own, if we talk about intellectual property, because innovation and intellectual property are very closely interlinked. But we need to bring in another angle, sustainability. That's very, very important. And when we talk about all this, I think what I perceive, what I feel, what I assess, never in the history of mankind we have seen this level of opportunities. And why I say this is an opportunity? Because challenges are immense. I come from a conventional manufacturing industry. I've never seen the plethora of challenges which have been put across to us, working in research and development organization. More importantly, we also need to understand this is a great opportunities for developing countries like us to be at the forefront of innovation. We are laggards in most of the technological advancements. This is a great opportunities because world is also, going along with us. And let me now come to the perspective of intellectual property, and at times, people many times feel whether it's a bottleneck or is it a facilitator when we talk about sustainability. So I'll give you a few pointers as I go along to help you that how intellectual property is a great motivator when it comes to sustainability. First of all, we need to understand, and conventionally, there are many students sitting here, conventionally it's taught to them that when we talk about intellectual property, it's a mean to protect. It's mean to exclude. It's a negative rights, as we were discussing in the morning also. But what is generally is not apparent, what is also not very well understood by the large audience, that by way of construction, a patent acts also an information mechanism. And what does it help? It helps so that people come to know what's happening in my domain. And when you come to know early on, you actually start working on it. And when you start working on it, the speed of innovation increase. That's very core of sustainability. The speed is very, very important. So IP acts a mechanism to expedite the innovation process. We also need to understand when we talk about innovation, generally there are two buckets of innovators. One are incumbents, big companies like us, and there are startups, or they are academic or research institutes. Now, it's very important to understand when we you talk about the conventional businesses, the big businesses, incumbent businesses, they always focus on improving their existing products and processes. And as it happens, largely the freshness of idea comes from the academia, or it comes from the startups. But you need to also understand the problems that startups and SMEs face. They don't have capital. And we need to bridge that gap. Intellectual property plays a very vital role in bridging this gap. It helps in doing the right matchmaking at the time. At the same time, it also ensures that each of the party gets a benefit. And people need to understand what a big company brings in on the table and what a small company or the startup brings on the table. We also talked about, and I'm sharing a couple of these examples from my own practical experience. If you are innovator, if you're creative enough, there are many means which are given in the intellectual property that you just don't need to put up a business. If your invention is potential, if your invention is good enough, you can license it out. And you can license it out to a potential licensee from the perspective that, you can also build a good case. I'm giving you an example. When I was working as a consultant, almost 15 years back, there was a student who was doing PhD, and he came up with a wonderful inventions, and it was measuring the heartbeat. Now it's very common. I'm talking about 15 years back. And it was definitely a great idea at that point of time, and as it happens, the student doesn't have money. People don't believe in ideas, and then you're also fearful that you disclose it to somebody, somebody would steal it. So very simple mechanism we suggested him. You file a patent application, you get an ICR done, you get an IPR done, and once you have the positive report, then you start meeting big companies. And he got a very good deal with a sports manufacturer based upon the IPR report issued. So it acts, IP facilitates in terms of the deal making also, because you have authentic reports with you, and people believe in your idea because this has been scrutinized by some of the best patent offices in the world. So it helps in raising funds also. And this leads to sustainable development target also. IPR promotes social equality. There's not any other tool than a patent which has created more millionaires than the billionaires in the world. Whether we talk about Facebook, whether we talk about Google, I don't know how many of you know that Google came out of a patent when Larry Page was doing PhD at Stanford. Number of examples I can cite from the Indian context also. And this is how the intellectual property fosters innovation and entrepreneurship. And we also need to understand that for sustainability, sustenance is very important. And for sustenance nowadays, differentiation is very important. Everyone wants to be innovative. Everyone wants to be associated with innovative companies. They want to buy innovative product and services. If that's the case, IP gives you that edge. So it helps and ensures the sustainability on the long run. As it says that best way to predict the future is to create it. And when we're talking about green intellectual property, we need to understand how to push green intellectual property ecosystem that we are living in. And I'm suggesting 3 steps doing so. We need to encourage innovation in green technologies. We need to create funds. Government has taken a lot of initiatives. Indian government has taken, European government has taken, US states government has taken, but I think we need to multiply these initiatives because situation is grave. More importantly, we need to create a mechanism to fast track green patent applications. There are already patent offices who have acted upon it. The Japanese Patent Office, United States Patent Office, European Patent Office, they treat in patent applications related to green technology on a special basis. Second, it's very important that how we create the consumer awareness. We have all harped upon that we need to create consumer awareness when we talk about intellectual property. We also need to create awareness in terms of product and services which are greener in nature. And that's where the role of Green Pro certification or the Eco Level certification comes. And we need to encourage among ourselves also that we buy products. If there's an alternate available, even that's ₹1 expensive, we go for that. That's how the change would happen. As you know, many times we have so many expectations from the government, but when it comes to deliver from our sides, we are very miser. We need to also come forward because we all have responsibility towards the environment. And the third, it's very, very important. We need to create mechanism to access and exchange of green technologies. And if we are talking about creating a mechanism to access and the transfer of green technologies, we need to talk about creating FRAND terms and conditions, because negotiations take a lot of time when we talk about any licensing deals happening. So the problem is universal. It's not limited to one state, one country, or one geography. It's universal. I think all the nations can come together and create FRAND terms when it comes to accessing the green technologies. It's very, very important. We talk about that we are filing many patent applications. We have reached to 81,000 approximate number. We also need to understand large number of potential ideas actually doesn't see the light of day. And why does it happen? Professors, sir is sitting here and he would understand that many times very potential ideas gets killed at low technology readiness level, only from the perspective that there is no funding available. And when we talk about industrial technologies, the amount of funding that you need, it runs in few hundreds of crores. It's not software industry. It's easy to scale up a technology right from low TRL to high TRL. And that's where the role of government, role of venture capitalists becomes very, very important, because conventionally industry go for the high TRL ideas. We need to make sure that the inventions which are getting created and which are having potential, they don't die because of the lack of capital. That's very, very important. We need to create a BC ecosystem in our country, and BC ecosystem which is targeted for supporting technological innovation. Conventionally, we see a lot of stories around people getting funding, and sometimes I get surprised. There are very few companies which get BC funding in India on technological innovation. And if we really want to be in developed economies league, I think we need to create a mechanism like US has in Silicon Valley. That's very, very important. It's very important that we also are aware of how to find these green patterns, green technologies. There are some initiatives taken at a global level. There's a IPC green inventory which has come by BIPO. They have very nicely classified inventions in different categories, whether it comes from alternate energy production, transportation, energy conservation, waste management. Similarly, there is a environment tech. There's another classification which is developed by OECD, and there's another tagging scheme which has come up by European Patent Office. These are very easy, so that you don't need to be a IP expert. If you really want to have a look at which are the technologies which could be relevant, you can easily go on web, type this, go in the relevant category and see if there are few inventions or technologies which are relevant for your domain of interest. Patent pledge, companies are coming forward. This is another big initiative which has been taken by a number of companies, where companies are making their intellectual property available to innovators for free if the application is having a green technology impact. We need to have more and more such pledges coming forward if you want to make a change. I would like to end my presentation and the talk on this note that COVID-19 has shown us that we are no longer living in isolated. We are a global family. And we draw inspiration from our Vedic literature, what we call as Vasudev Kutumbakam. We need to understand that climate change emergency is like COVID-19. It appears slow, but it's grave. But more importantly, I also say there's a blessing in disguise. COVID-19 has given us a learning how we all can come together, bring political leadership, bring international cooperation, bring complex science, and drive an action which is hinged upon public support. We need to act on it. We need to take decisions because climate stability is something which is needed for our life. So we all need to come together. So with this, I would like to thank you, BCCI, for giving me this opportunity, for sharing my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sudan, for a very interesting perspective from the industry side. Thank you for sharing. I think we will now close this session. I understand on our social media that quite a few questions have come. We would collate it, as I said earlier, and have it published subsequently. May I now request, just one second, may I request Mr. Ranganathan to kindly hand over the the two mementos on behalf of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry and VCAN to Dr. Rajnikant.
Rajnikant, sir.
May I request Mr. Rajan Jaikar, trustee of VCAN, to please come up and present a memento to Dr. Devendra Narayan Singh, please. Wait. This is GI Tech from Bengal, Dhanyakali. Yes, this is from West Bengal.
Okay.
Ready, sir.
Thank you.
May I now invite my fellow trustee, Mr. Captain Saurabh Kapadia, to please give the memento to Dr. Midula Bele, please. Yeah. Just wait. No, you can just put across, whatever she prefers. May I now invite Captain Ashok Malkani to please present the memento to Dr. Prashant Mali. Prashant, please come. Please. Come this way. And may I now invite Mr. Dev Mukherjee to please hand over the memento on behalf of VCAN and Bengal Chamber to Mr. Munish Sudan. I understand that Dr. Rajnikant has a special memento to share to Mr. Dev Mukherjee. I request all of you, I know we have had a long session, but just give us a few minutes. There will be a business session which will be following this, and thereafter we break for lunch. So just give us a few minutes.